Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if Kyuubi protects neglected Naruto from villagers part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. Konohagakure no Sato, October 10. It was October 10 and in Konohagakure no Sato or Konoha for short, the annual celebration of the defeat of the Kyuubi no Kitsune or nine-tailed demon fox 5 years ago was in full swing. However, one person in particular was not celebrating, no, quite the opposite. In fact, his was running for his life. This person was none other than 5-year-old Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, son of the Yondaime Hokage Minato Namikaze and his wife Kushina Uzumaki Namikaze and the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi, not that he knew any of that. Now you are probably wondering, how does he contain the Kyuubi when it was killed 5 years ago? Well, the Kyuubi is what is known as a biju, which are near infinite amounts of chakra and yaki given form, which makes it impossible to kill them, so they can only be sealed. However, due to the Kyuubi being the strongest of the biju, it can only be sealed in a newborn baby, and Naruto was the only baby born on October 10th when the Kyuubi attacked, so the Yondaime Hokage Minato Namikaze was forced to seal the Kyuubi into Naruto, which resulted in the death of not only himself but also Kushina, leaving Naruto an orphan. The Sandaime Hokage Hiruzen Sarutobi was forced to retake the position of Hokage and tried to keep Naruto safe by keeping his status as the container of the Kyuubi a secret, but the civilian council found out and spread the word in response. Hiruzen created a law that prevented the adults from telling the younger generation, so Naruto could at least have a chance at making friends. However, that didn't stop some of the more violent people from sometimes hunting the boy down to try and kill the demon, which leads us to where we are now. Naruto was running from another mob of people trying to kill him when he ran into a dead end. This way he went in here, yelled one of the people of the mob, chasing Naruto, shit, they are getting closer and I'm trapped, thought Naruto frantically when he suddenly hears a voice, hold on kid. Suddenly everything goes black. Mindscape, drip, 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 ah, what the hell. Naruto opens his eyes to see himself in what looks like a sewer grate. The villagers must have caught me and threw me in the sewer again. Well, might as well get up and get out of here. Naruto begins to get up when he hears a voice from behind him, come this way, kid, it's time for us to meet. Naruto turns around to see a large gate with a piece of paper on it that reads seal and walks towards it when he notices a huge fox with 9 tails behind a Kyuubi. He screams and falls back. Yes kid, I am the Kyuubi no Kitsune and we are in your mindscape now. You are probably wondering why you are here and how I am here at this. Naruto just nods. Well, kid, the story begins back when the first Hokage Hashirama Senju fought Madara Uchiha at the Valley of the End. Madara somehow managed to summon me from my den and then used that damned hack's eyes of his, the Sharingan, to control me to fight for him. However, Hashirama's wife Mito Uzumaki was able to use her mastery of seals to seal me within herself. After the battle was over and both Madara and Hashirama were dead, Mito returned to the village and lived her life, and over time me and her would sometimes talk to each other in her mindscape. However, time passed and Mito grew older to the point where she was nearing end and we began to talk about what would happen when she died. We had discovered that when she dies I would be free again, and upon realizing this we decided that if I was free, somebody might control me again someday and cause more destruction, so we decided that I would be transferred into someone else before Mito died. This led to Mito choosing a young girl named Kushina Uzumaki to become my next container. She was your mother kid. At this Naruto's eyes widened and small tears formed at the corners of them. Yes, your mother was my container before you kid. Over time she would come into her mindscape and we would talk about various things like her life, the status of the world outside the seal and other things, and we grew close to the point where we saw each other as sisters. Naruto begins to open his mouth to ask a question, but Kyuubi cuts him off. Yes kid, I am a girl. One day she told me about how she fell in love with a young man by the name of Minato Namikaze and how they got married. She even brought him into her mindscape, sometimes to talk to me. At first I didn't like him, but after talking with him grew to like him and see him as a little brother. One day they both came in and told me that Kushina was pregnant. At this Naruto suddenly interrupts, but wait, if Kushina was my mother, then that would mean that Minato Namikaze is my father, but he was the Yondaime Hokage. Yes kid, Minato Namikaze is your father. Now please don't interrupt again. Now after telling me that Kushina was pregnant, we started celebrating. When we were done, I told you parents that I would like to give you a gift. Of course they asked why I would do this and I simple said that they were the closest thing I have ever had to a family and any child of theirs I would also consider family. They asked what the gift was and I told them of a bloodline that I had created using the remains of creatures that I came across when I was young. Needless to say, they were shocked and honored and accepted, so I began to implant the bloodline into your DNA. However, the night you were born tragedy struck. At this the Kyuubi lowers her head for a moment, so Naruto asks what happened. After a moment the Kyuubi continues her story. It's a known fact that when a female Jinchuriki is giving birth the seal containing the biju sealed within her weakens, so extra precautions are taken due to this. Though when your mother went into labor it was kept secret, except for the few people who would to be on hand to help deliver you, which included your father and few others. However, somehow the secret was let out, and a man came right after you were born and held you hostage before kidnapping your mother and extracting me from her. He then placed me under a Jinjustu just like Madara did and forced me to attack Konoha. Your father was able to lead me away from Konoha to where your mother and you were in hopes of sealing me back into your mother. But due to just giving birth and having me ripped from her, she was too weak, so he had to seal me into you. Your mother used a special ability of hers to create chakra chains. I'd hold me down while your father prepared everything. But as he was sealing me into you I broke free for a second, and in my state I lashed out toward you and your parents got in the way and were fatally wounded by one of my claws. It was then that I finally broke free from the Jinjustu and noticed what I had down. A tear trails down Kyuubi's cheek and Naruto walks up and hugs her as best he can despite her size. It's alright Kyu-chan, I don't blame you for your actions, he says with a small smile on his face. Thank you kid. Now after realizing what I had done I began to panic, but your parents said it was alright and that it wasn't my fault. Your father then completed the seal and I was sealed in you. However, I was able to hear what was happening outside due to the seal being just finished and heard the Sandaime Hokage talk to your father just before he passed. His dying wish was that you've been seen as a hero. For the next 5 years I waited for the day when we would be able to meet and I would be able to activate your bloodline if you wanted me to. Naruto was speechless after hearing all this. Leering he had parents who not only loved him but gave their lives to save him, that his father was the Yondaime Hokage, that he had the Kyuubi sealed in him, and that he had a bloodline waiting to be activated, but realized that he would follow in his parents' footsteps and protect the village just like they had. With determination in his eyes he then spoke, Kyuubi, please activate my bloodline. My parents gave their lives to not only protect me but also the village, so I will follow in their footsteps. I will use this gift from you to protect those who are precious to me like my parents did before me, and that includes you. Kyuubi was stunned by Naruto's words and simply thought, Kushina, Minato, you would be so proud of your son. So young and already so strong. After a moment Kyuubi smiles before saying, Kid, your parents would be so proud of you already just as I am. Get ready, I'm going to activate your bloodline, but it's going to hurt. Oh, and kid, call me Akane. It's my true name. Okay Akane-chan, let's do this. Alright kid, here goes, brace yourself. Akane says before activating his bloodline, and Naruto feels like fire has flowing through his soul before leaving the mindscape. Outside mindscape, Naruto exits his mindscape to find himself lying on the ground in the alley, with a mob of villagers approaching before getting up and letting out a scream that begins to sound like a roar. His face gets longer, his teeth lengthen and turn to fangs, his spine gets longer and forms a tail. His fingers and toes turn into claws, his skin becomes hard, dry, bumpy, and leathery. And finally he grows in size, his head and body get taller and longer and larger, till he was easily reaching 20 feet tall, and at least 40 feet long from nose to tail, his orange jumpsuit just hanging from his arms. As this was happening the mob of villagers just stood there watching the demon brat become this thing, before one of them finally snaps out of it and yells the demon is finally showing its true colors, kill it, which snaps the others out of their shock and they begin to charge at Naruto. Naruto turns and looks at the mob, says oh no, but it comes out as Rahamu. The mob charges at him, try to injure him with knives, sword, kunai, and other various sharp objects which just bounce off his skin. A shinobi in the mob coats his kunai in wind chakra before stabbing Naruto with it and ends up piercing about 3 inches into his skin, causing him to bleed slightly. Naruto lets out a roar before turning to the shinobi. He lets out a mighty roar before leaning down and lunging forward, snatching the man by the waist in his mouth. The man screams before Naruto chomps down, biting the man in half with a loud crunch. The man's legs and upper torso fall to the ground with a wet plop, and the rest of the mob screams before trying to run. Naruto hears the scream and turns toward the rest of the mob, blood dripping from his mouth and teeth before lunging at the mob and begins to tear them apart, squishing some underfoot, slamming others into the alley's walls with his massive tail, ripping others apart with his jaws, all the while names and pictures passing through his mind: Tyrannosaurus Rex, Velociraptor, Stegosaurus, Triceratops, Apatosaurus, Dilophosaurus, Pterodactyl, Procompsognathus, and finally Diabolus Rex. As this was happening, 2 Anbu, one with an Inu mask, the other with a Hibi mask, watch in horror and amazement. The Anbu with the Inu mask summons a dog and sends it to get the Hokage. Naruto finishes killing the last person in the mob when he hears someone appear and looks to see the Hokage standing before him with the Inu and Hibi masked Anbu. The Hokage looks at the scene before him, blood and body parts everywhere and a huge creature standing there looking at him, blood dripping from its mouth and fangs and an orange jumpsuit just barely hanging onto its little arms and recognizes it as Naruto's. Naruto, is that you? The Sanday asks. The creature before him begins to shrink and change, revealing Naruto barely clothed. Jai Hibi-chan, is that you? Naruto asks before falling to his knees. Hibi rushes over and catches him before he hits the Gorin. Nachuo looks at Hibi before placing his hand on the side of her masks and gives BF smiling and giving her forehead a kiss. Thanks Hibi-chan. What would I do without you? Hibi chuckles. You're welcome kiddo, but how about you treat me to some dango to pay me back? Naruto smiles. Sure thing Hibi-chan, all you can eat. Naruto looks at the Sandaime before saying I know who my parents are, about my tenant, and unlocked my bloodline. But we're going to need to go to your office to talk about it more. Hibi-chan and Inu-san must be there with us. The Sandaime is shocked but recomposes himself before saying okay Naruto, Hibi, Inu. With a long he then snaps his fingers and a Anbu with a weasel mask appears. Yes Hokage-sama. The Sandaime looks at Weasel before saying I need you to clean the alley up, make sure there is nothing left of body's blood, and do not tell anyone what you have seen here tonight. Is that understood? The Anbu salutes before saying of course Hokage-sama, and tell Naruto I'm sorry I wasn't there for him. Tonight the Sandaime nods his head of course Itachi and then leaves with Naruto, Hibi, and Inu. When they reach the Hokage's office Hibi sets Naruto on couch before sitting next to him. Inu leans up against the wall and the Sandaime sits behind his desk before dismissing the hidden Anbu in the room and acting a privacy seal. Okay Naruto, can you tell me what happened tonight? Naruto holds Hibi's hand, looks at the Sandaime and nods. Okay Jai. But can Hibi and Inu remove their masks? I already know who they are. The Sandaime nods and Inu removes his mask, revealing a man in his mid-20s with a cloth mask covering the lower half of his face, his leaf headband over his left eye, and silver gravity-defying hair. This is Kakashi Haddock. Hibi then removes her mask revealing a beautiful young woman between 16 to 18 years old, with pupilless chocolate brown eyes and beautiful violet hair, pulled into a pineapple shape, ponytail. This is Anko Mitarashi. Naruto smiles at Anko before giving her cheek a kiss, causing her to blush slightly before he turns to the Sandaime and continues his story. It started when and then proceeds to tell him everything that happened from being chased into that alley by the mob, meeting the Kyuubi, her telling him her story and about his parents, the relationship between them and herself, along with how she gave him his bloodline, how he left his mindscape and turned into the creature which he is calling a dinosaur, how he defended himself from the mob before Hibi, Inu, Hiruzen himself showed up. When he is done everyone is speechless with there was on the ground before Anko snaps out of it and yells hell yeah, the strongest being alive is a female. Take that sexist. This proceeds to snap Kakashi and Hiruzen out of their shocked state and the Sandaime finally says I'm getting too old for this shit. Okay, I'm classifying everything said here as a S-rank secret. Now Naruto, what do you want to do? Naruto thinks for a second before saying well Jai, I want to make my parents proud and protect the village and my precious people like you Am-chan, Tuichi Oji-san and Anko-chan, so I want to be a shinobi. Hiruzen smiles and thinks Minato, Ashina, you would be so proud of your son. Okay Naruto, so you want to join the academy? Naruto shakes his head. Actually Jai, I was hoping Anko-chan would teach me, since the academy teachers would try to sabotage my learning and it would allow me to train with my bloodline and learn what I can with it. Plus Akane-chan said she wants to train me in some of her Kitsune and Akuma styles. The Hokage and Kakashi look amazed by how much thought he has put into this in such a short amount of time, while Anko has a slight blush due to Naruto wanting her to be his teacher. After a few minutes of thinking the Sandaime finally speaks. Okay Naruto, you have a good point, Anko can train you, but you will have to graduate with your age group. Naruto smiled brightly and nods his head. Thanks Jai, just you wait, by the time my age group graduates, I will be really strong, that way I can protect my precious people. The Sandaime smiles and looks to Anko, starting first thing in the morning, you are to begin training Naruto. You have my permission to use training ground 44. Actually I would recommend you use it and both of you live in the tower at the center of it, that way we can keep not only his bloodline a secret for as long as possible, but also the fact that he is training so early. Anko nods. Of course old man, I was planning on doing that anyway. Come on Naruto, let's go get some rest before your torture training. Yeah, training starts tomorrow. She then grabs Naruto and both leave in a shushin. Kakashi nods to the Sandaime and leaves himself. Hiruzen leans back in his chair. So what do you think of all this? Jiraiya, the wall next to the window shimmers before revealing a tall man with white spike hair, wearing wooden clogs, a red kabuki-style outfit with a large scroll tied to the back of his waist, and a headband that reads oil on it. Jiraiya thinks for a minute. Well sensei, if he is anything like Minato and Kushina, then he is going to be a powerhouse in the near future. Then there is the Kyuubi and her story, I believe it. Minato once told me about when he went with Kushina into her mindscape and met her and befriended her, which made the whole her attacking Konoha for no reason so fishy in the first place, seeing how she loved Kushina and Minato like siblings. Then there is that bloodline of his, it's amazing. So if you add all this up, he could very easily be the strongest person to walk the elemental nations since the Sage of Six Paths, which adds more evidence to him being the child of prophecy that the Elder Toad spoke of. The Sandaime nods his head, that's what I thought too. Jiraiya smiles and hands the Sandaime a scroll. Well, here is the latest info from my sources, sensei. Now if you'll excuse me, I have some research to do. He then giggles perversely and leaves through the window. The Sandaime wipes a little blood from his nose, chuckles before getting up and looking out the window, and thinks, Naruto, you are already so strong for dealing with how the idiots of this village treat you, and you will only continue to grow stronger from now on, and I'm sure your parents are already proud of you. I know I am. The next morning Naruto wakes up to feel something snuggling his left side and looks over to see Anko using him like a body pillow. A small smile comes to his face as he thinks she really is just like a till kid at times like this. He wiggles out of Anko's grip before placing a pillow in his place so she won't wake up before walking out of the bedroom and towards the kitchen to make breakfast. Anko wakes to the smell of something delicious and gets up noticing Naruto isn't in bed anymore. As she walks to kitchen to see Naruto cooking breakfast, she yawns before asking Naruto, good morning Naruto, what's for breakfast, and sits down at the table. A small sly smile comes to Naruto's face before answering, well Anko-chan, we have an egg omelette with cheese, onions, sausage, toast, slices of bacon, and last but not least we have. Anko's eyes widen with each thing he lists off before getting impatient that he is stalling. Okay, what's the last thing we're having? Another sly smile comes to Naruto's face. Well, the last thing is some of my special Naruto dango. As soon he finishes, Anko jumps from her chair and glomps him. Oh Naru-kun, you spoil me. He smiles, of course I do Anko-chan, but you're worth it. Now let's eat before starting my training. Anko nods and they eat breakfast. After finishing breakfast, both of them showering and getting dressed, they leave the tower to start training. Anko turns to Naruto, okay Naruto, let's start by unlocking your chakra. Naruto nods and forms the ram seal and concentrating. After a minute or so, a massive burst of chakra erupts around him, nearly knocking Anko off her feet before dying down. Anko stands there with her jaw on the ground, thinking holy shit, that was more chakra than my entire reserves, and he is only 5 years old. After recovering from her shocked state, Anko looks at Naruto and smiles, well Naruto-kun, you certainly full of surprises, cause you just released more chakra than I have in my entire reserves. Now that you have unlocked your chakra, the torture training can finally begin. She then smiles sadistically, get ready Naruto cause the fun is about to start. Naruto merely gulps before thinking, well, I did ask for this, so who am I to complain? He nods before saying, I'm ready Anko-sensei, let's start. And so began Naruto's 8 years of torture training. 1 month later, Naruto had been training with Anko for a month, learning various things including taijutsu, ninjutsu, kenjutsu, shuriken jutsu, tactics, stealth, and traps. The Kane-chan had been teaching him her kitsune and akuma styles in his mindscape at night, along with how to use his bloodline, which he had named Saurian Soul. And one night, while doing some late night training in his bloodline, he noticed something that set for a series of events that would change the lives of more people than he knew. Naruto was training in the newest form of his bloodline that he had unlocked. It was medium-sized at about 6 to 8 feet tall and about 12 feet long. Its body was lean, while at the same time muscular. His teeth were medium-sized backwards, facing like snake fangs and razor sharp. His arms were medium length and had 3 claws for fingers. But the most intimidating feature of the form was the 2 6-inch long claws on his feet, one on each foot. From what he remembered, when the images and names passed through his mind a month earlier, this dinosaur was called a velociraptor, liked to hunt in packs and was incredibly smart. Naruto was running through the forest of death in his velociraptor form, getting used to its speed, evasiveness, and enhanced senses, hunting a boar so that he could make Anko something special for dinner, due to it being the 1-month anniversary of when they started training. When he smelled something strange coming from the direction of the Hyuga compound, it smelled of fear, and considering it was heading away from the compound, he figured that something was wrong and headed out to see what was happening. 5 minutes earlier, the tall man dressed in all black with Kumagakure headband was running from the Hyuga compound with a large sack over his shoulder. In said sack was 5-year-old Hinata Hyuga, firstborn daughter of clan head Hiashi Hyuga. She had been sleeping when a man came into her room and kidnapped her and was now taking her. Who knows where to do, who knows what to her, and she was terrified, praying that anyone would come save her. The man smirked, thinking how easy it had been to kidnap the young Hyuga heiress so that Kumo would finally get the Byakugan bloodline. He had been given a mission by the village's council to pose as the ambassador of the village and go to Konoha to talk about establishing a peace treaty as cover to sneak and kidnap the young Hyuga heiress. He had already kidnapped the young girl and was on his way to Kumo when he noticed something up ahead that looked like some kind of large bipedal lizard-like thing that had 3 claws on each hand, and on each foot was a long menacing looking claw in addition to the others. It just stood there looking at him. Naruto had made it back to village fairly quickly and noticed a tall man in black with a large sack over his shoulder that was the source of the fear he smelled earlier and instantly realized that someone was being kidnapped by this man, so he quickly thought of a plan and put it into action. He created 2 shadow clones, glad that Anko had taught him the jutsu and due to him using it so much had mastered it, making him able to do it without having to use hand seals. He mentally commanded the 2 velociraptor clones of himself to take up a pincer formation around the man. After they left he stood out in the open and looked at the man. The man looked at the creature before him for a minute before deciding enough was enough. I don't know what you are, but you best get out of here before I kill the creature. Just tilted its head to the side. The man set the sack down and took out a kunai. Fine, have it your way. Don't say I didn't warn you, and charged at the creature. As he made it to the halfway point between them he thought, stupid creature doesn't stand a chance, should have just left, better finish this quick before anyone shows up. All these thoughts were running through his head as he got closer and closer. He never noticed the 2 shadows come out on either side of him, he never noticed them get closer to him. He never noticed one jump into the air with its feet forward, he never noticed the other slash his abdomen, he never noticed the one in the air descend upon him and tear into his flesh, he never noticed the look in the eyes of the one in front of him that said gotcha. He never noticed any of these things until it was too late. He felt his abdomen get sliced open. He felt the large claws of the one in the air slice into his back and pin him to the ground. He felt the teeth of the one his back grip the back of his neck. He felt fear as the pressure increased. He felt his neck start to twist as the creature turned its head sharply. Then he felt no more as his neck snapped, severing his spine from his brain, killing him. Naruto looked at the man before him dead from his clone, snapping his neck before dismissing his clones, tilting his head towards the sky and letting out a roar that coughing like one that velociraptors do in the movies before changing back to his normal form and walking over to the sack and opening it. Hinata was terrified. The man had set her down and then she heard him saying something and then everything was quiet. She heard footsteps walking toward her before opening the bag. She expected to see the scary man that had put her in the bag, not a boy that had sun blonde hair, the most beautiful blue eyes she had ever seen, 3 whisker-like marks on each cheek, smiling at her as he helped her out of the bag. Naruto helped the girl out of the bag as he took in her appearance. She had midnight blue hair cut into a Haim style. Her eyes were a beautiful white with hints of lavender and had no pupils. She had on lavender pajamas. He smiled at her. Are you alright? She nods. Good, now let's get you home. I'm sure that everyone is worried about you. He grabs her hand, not noticing the blush on her face. My name is Naruto Uzumaki, by the way. What's yours? She blushes a little more before answering. Hinata Hyuga. He smiles. Nice to meet you, Hinata-chan. They walk for a little while before they see a man that looks like an older version of Hinata, but male obviously. The man notices them and runs towards them. Hinata, there you are. What happened? And who is this? Hinata proceeds to tell the man what happened, while Naruto just stands there waiting till she is done. After Hinata finishes telling the man what happened he turns towards Naruto. Is what she true? Young man. Naruto nods. Yes sir. I was out walking and enjoying the night when I noticed a man in all black running with a sack over his shoulder that was moving like someone inside and went after him. I then confronted said man and let Hinata-chan out of the bag before walking her back home, in which you saw us. The man in front of him looks skeptical, so he continues, if you are having a hard time believing me, you can have someone go check the way we came from. They will find the man on the ground in the middle of the street. Meanwhile you and I can go with you to see the Hokage where things will be explained further. The man thinks for a second before nodding. Naruto notices 2 more men appear next to him. One looks just like the man in front of him. The man turns toward the man that looks like him. Hisashi, go check up the road to see if there is a man lying in the center of the street, and if so bring him to Inoichi at the INT. Hisashi nods and leaves. He then turns toward the other man. Ko, take Hinata home and inform Hitomi what happened. The other man nods before leaving with Hinata. The man then turns toward Naruto. Come along Naruto, let's go talk to the Hokage. Naruto's eyes widen. You know who I am? The man chuckles. Of course, I doubt there is anyone in the village that doesn't know who you are. And I must say that prank you played on the civilian council was very funny. Naruto smiles and rubs the back of his head. Thanks. They had it coming. The man smiles. That they did Naruto. That they did. Naruto and the man reach the Hokage's office and enter to see the Sandaime doing paperwork before looking up. Hiashi. Naruto, what can I do for you? The now named Hiashi bows before speaking. Hokage-sama, earlier tonight, my daughter Hinata was taken from her room by someone, and after searching, I discovered young Naruto here walking her back home, at which time I questioned him, and he told me how he was out for a walk when he noticed a man in black carrying a bag that was moving and proceed to confront the man and rescued Hinata. At this, the Hokage's eyes widen and Naruto rubs the back of his head sheepishly. The Ashi then continues. Now after hearing young Naruto's story I was a little skeptical and said that we should talk to you about it, and after having co-escort Hinata home and my brother Hisashi go see if there was in fact a body down the road we came here. The Hokage then turns to Naruto. Naruto, is what Hiashi said true? Naruto nods his head. Yaj. I was out training in that when I noticed a man and confronted him like Hiashi-sen said, before letting Hinata-chan out of the bag and walking her home. When Hiashi-sen saw us, Hiashi raises an eyebrow at the mention of that, wondering what it meant, but decided to wait to ask. The doors to the Hokage's office then open to reveal his Ahi, who walks in and bows to the Hokage and Hiashi before smiling at Naruto. "I have just finished my task, Hiashi, and like young Naruto, said there was in fact a man's body down the road, along with a sack that had residual amounts of Hinata's chakra in it. Upon bringing the body, which I might add was in my own opinion very effectively killed. Duinoichi-san, he used his clan's mind walk jutsu to enter the man's mind and found out that he was a shinobi from Kumo that had orders from their council to pose as ambassador to discuss a peace treaty in order to kidnap a main branch Hyuga to be brought back so that they could have the Byakugan. All of this however went on with behind the back of the Yondaime Reikage. He finished the Hokage, then nods his head. Thank you Hisashi, you may return home. Hisashi then bows before leaving. The Hokage turns toward Naruto and smiles. Well done Naruto, you saved somebody from a fate worse than death tonight. I am very proud of you. Naruto smiles. No problem Jai. I'm just glad Hinata-chan is safe. She seems like a nice person, he finishes, while the Hokage and Hiashi smile. Hiashi then asks the Hokage, Hokage-sama, if I may, what is this that Naruto referred to earlier? The Hokage looks to Naruto, who nods. He then dismisses the Anbu in the room before setting up a privacy seal. Hiashi, what we are about to tell you is a S-rank secret, not to be told to anyone. Hiashi nods. The Hokage and Naruto then proceed to tell Hiashi about everything, including Naruto's heritage, his bloodline, how the Kyuubi really is, the night of his birth, his secret training with Anko, nothing is left out, and by the end of it, Hiashi's jaw is on the floor. He then turns toward Naruto. Wait, you're Minato and Kushina's son? Naruto nods. Naruto, your father was not only my best friend, but your mother was best friends with my wife Hitomi. When the four of us found out that both your mother and my wife were pregnant and that you were going to be a boy while me and my wife were having a girl, the four of us decided to form a marriage contract between you and Hinata. At this Naruto's eyes widen. That's right Naruto, you and Hinata are engaged to each other. Naruto thinks for a moment. Hiashi-san, while I'm honored to be engaged to Hinata, I will not marry someone unless it is out of love, and both of us love each other, and therefore will not marry Hinata, unless such a thing happens. At this Hiashi eyes widen. However, that does not mean that I will not give Hinata a chance. From the short amount of time that I have known her, I can already tell she is a great person and anyone she falls in love with will be the luckiest man in all of the elemental nations. What I propose is that we keep my engagement to her a secret, that way her and I get to know each other, and if we end up loving each other, we will know the love between us is real and not due to the contract, and then the contract is fulfilled. And if we don't, then she will never know and go on with her life. Her happiness is more important than some contract. He finishes with a smile. Hiashi and the Hokage are stunned before both smile, thinking the same thing. Minato, Kushina, your son is already such a great person. Hiashi then speaks. Naruto, I see so much of your parents in you. You have your father's intellect and compassion, and your mother's kind heart. Very well, we will keep the engagement a secret from Hinata, so that if you both fall in love it will be genuine. He then turns toward the Hokage and bows. I will take my leave Hokage-sama before leaving. Hiruzen looks toward Naruto. Naruto, you truly are one of a kind. Naruto smiles and rubs the back of his head. Well Jai, of course I am me. After all, the Hokage chuckles. That you are Naruto, that you are. Now I think it's time you go and see Anko. I'm sure she is worried about you. Naruto pales, thinking that well Jai gotta go see ya. He then leaves so fast you would swear he was using the Hirshin as you saw him. Naruto returns to the tower and sneaks in, hoping Anko is asleep, when suddenly the lights turn on to show Anko standing there with her arms crossed, tapping her foot. Well look who decided to show up. Where have you been? I have been missing my favorite pillow. Naruto chuckles and begins to explain what happened, and when he is done, Anko just shakes her head. Not even 6 years old and already getting into situations like this. What am I going to do with you? And what's this I hear about you being engaged to little Hinata? He chuckles nervously. Well, he was set up by our parents and might not even happen if we don't love each other. He then walks over to Anko and hugs her. Besides Eve, if we do fall in love and get married, you won't get rid of me that easily because I love you and you will be there right there beside her. If I marry Hinata, Anko's eyes widen and blushes before smiling, not one of the smiles she shows most people, but a true smile that only Naruto has seen. You got that right Gaki. But that's not for a while. After all, what would people think of me marrying a Gaki like you? Naruto chuckles. They would think that I am the luckiest guy in the world for having a woman as incredible and beautiful as you as my wife. He then stands on his tiptoes and kisses her cheek. Now let's go to bed. We have a lot of training to do and only 7 years and 11 months to do it. She smiles. You got that right Gaki. They then go into the bedroom and go to sleep with Anko, cuddling Naruto like he is a body pillow. 7 years 11 months later, the 5'8" tall 13-year-old with sun blonde hair, blue eyes and 3 whisker-like marks on each cheek stands on the roof of a building next to the Ninja Academy. He is wearing black steel-toe combat boots, dark red cargo pants, a fishnet shirt that shows of his six-pack abs and chest, a long red trench coat with red flames on the bottom that goes down to his ankles. On the back of the trench coat near the top are the words Saurian Soul in gold lettering, and underneath it, there is some kind of creature's skull Jurassic Park logo. On his right arm, there is a tattoo of a crimson nine-tailed fox. On his chest above his right pec there is a tattoo of a purple snake coiled around a heart. On his left pec there is a tattoo of the moon with lavender hints in it above a heart, and he is wearing black sunglasses. He looks at the building before looking at the note in his hands, and smiling. Well, better not keep them waiting. Should I just enter the building normally or with style? It is he then smirks before running and leaping into the air and rolling into a ball. Naruto Uzumaki was about to make himself known, and things would never be the same for those around him, those poor bastards. He not really, evil smile. Iruka Yamino was many things: a man in his mid-late 20s, a shinobi of Konoha, a teacher of the next generation of Konoha shinobi, and finally an orphan from the Kyuubi attack 13 years ago. However, as he walked into his classroom with his assistant teacher Mizuki, he couldn't help but feel like something was going to happen today that would not only be hilarious, but also make a fool of him. But he pushed it aside for the moment and looked upon his class. First there was Sasuke Uchiha. He had brown hair that looked like a duck's ass, onyx eyes, and had a look on his face that would make you think somebody stuck a 10 feet hole up his ass and killed his puppy. He wore a dark blue shirt with the Uchiha fan on the back, white shorts and black sandals. He sat at his seat with an air that said, "I'm the best thing since sliced bread, bo before me don't much." Next there was Choji Akamichi Tub, big bone boy munching on a bag of chips. He had on a grey shirt, tan shorts, and a pair of sandals. Next to him sat his best friend Shikamaru Nara. Shikamaru Nara is one of the smartest people in the village like the rest of his clan, but he was also one of the laziest, also like the rest of his clan, the males anyway. The females however were energetic and would often be seen whacking their husbands, boyfriends, or brothers over the head with frying pans. They seemed to pull out of thin hair. He had brown hair pulled into a pineapple ponytail. He wore a brown shirt and black pants with grey sandals. He had his head down on his desk and was currently sleeping. Next was Shino Aburam. He has black hair and wore a long closed trench coat that covered his entire body up to his nose and wore black sunglasses that hid his eyes. Next to him sat Kiba Inuzuka. Kiba Inuzuka is a loud, brash, perverted boy who wore a grey jacket with a hood over his head, brown shorts and sandals. Like the rest of his clan, he had two fang tattoos on his cheeks, and his nin dog companion Akamaru, a little puppy with white fur, sat on his head. Next was Ino Yamanaka. He has long blonde hair pulled into a ponytail and wore a purple top and shorts. She, like the majority of the females in the class, was a fangirl chasing after Sasuke. Sitting next to her was the class banshee, Sakura Haruno. She wore a red dress with blue sandals. She had pink hair and green eyes, and also like the majority of the girls in the class, she too was a fangirl chasing Sasuke. Next there was Hinata Hyuga. She had changed a lot in the last 7 years. She had grown to be around 5'3". Her hair had grown and no reaches mid-back. She wears a baggy beige jacket that hides her mid-C cup and long blue pants. The rest of the kids in the class were just no-name civilians that Iruka really didn't bother remembering the names of cause they probably wouldn't appear again after this chapter. Where did that come from, he thought before shaking his head. He then clears his throat, trying to get the class's attention. No effect, so he tries a few more times before a tick mark appears on his forehead. "Okay, shut up and pay attention," he yells. Instantly the class does so, causing him to smile. "Okay, now today is the day of the graduation exam that will determine if you become shinobi or not." He begins before the one of the windows in the classroom break, and a black ball flies through before attaching itself to the blackboard. The ball pops open, revealing a banner that says "the sexiest man alive." Naruto Uzumaki is here, and standing next to it is a 5'8" tall 13-year-old with sun blonde hair, blue eyes, and 3 whisker-like marks on each cheek, stands on the roof of a building next to the Ninja Academy. He is wearing black steel-toe combat boots, dark red cargo pants, a fishnet shirt that shows of his six-pack abs and chest, a long red trench coat with red flames on the bottom that goes down to his ankles. On the back of the trench coat near the top are the words Saurian Soul in gold lettering, and underneath it there is some kind of creature's skull Jurassic Park logo. On his right arm there is a tattoo of a crimson nine-tailed fox. On his chest above his right pec there is a tattoo of a purple snake coiled around a heart. On his left pec there is a tattoo of the moon with lavender hints in it above a heart, and he is wearing black sunglasses. He turns to Iruka and raises his hand. "Yo, am I late?" Iruka just stands there for a second before clearing his throat. Who are and why are you my class?" Naruto just tilts his head to the side and looks at Iruka. "Well, in order, my name is Naruto Uzumaki, hence the reason I came out of Venom." Standing next to that ball next to me that has the banner saying "the sexiest man alive." Naruto Uzumaki is here. Q sweat drop from most of the class. "And as to what I am doing here, this is my class and I'm here to take the graduation exam. I have a note from the Hokage and hands Iruka the note, causing his eyes to widen, before rubbing the bridge of his nose and muttering I need a drink. He then notices Naruto holding a flask out to him. Here's some of my special stash, it helps with the stress. Iruka grabs the flask and takes a gulp before handing it back to Naruto. Thanks, I needed that. Okay now class, we have a new student joining us today. Meet Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto raises his hand. Yo, nice to meet you. Suddenly there was a yell of Iruka sensei, why does this nobody get to just join at the end of the year? When we're graduating only someone as awesome as Sasuke should be able to do that. I just died a little writing that, was the yell of the class. Banshee, I mean Sakura. Yes, Sakura. After recovering and stopping his ears from bleeding, Iruka looks at Sakura before saying first Sakura, he has a note signed by the Hokage himself saying he can. And secondly, if you ever yell like that again I will have you clean the Akimichi sewer system. UNITL. It sparkles with your toothbrush, which caused many of the class to go green in the face, but none more so than Sakura. After compassing himself he turns to Naruto and says okay Naruto, how about you tell us a little about yourself? Naruto smiles before nodding. Okay Iruka sensei. My name is Naruto Uzumaki, the sexiest man alive. Q sweat drop from Iruka. My likes are training, ramen, foxes, snakes and reptiles in general, the moon, my Hebeheim, my lavender moonheim, music, singing and playing my guitar, cooking. My dislikes are traitors, rapists, perverts, the time it takes to cook ramen, and people who can't tell the difference between a kunai and the scroll it's sealed in. My dream for the future is to get stronger to protect my precious people, bring peace to the elemental nations, become Hokage, and have a family. He finishes with smile. Iruka and the class sit there speechless for a bit before there is a loud squeal and a midnight blue-haired blur rockets into Naruto, who just catches it and twirls around. Before stopping he looks at the person in his arms and smiles. Hello Hinata-chan, did you miss me? Her answer was to put her arms around his neck and kiss him on the lips passionately as he wraps his arms around her waist. This causes various reactions among the class. Jiruka has his jaw on the ground and a little blood dripping down his nose, and the rest of the class has their jaws on the floor. After ending the kiss Naruto looks Hinata in the eyes and smiles. I'll take that as a yes, she responds by tapping him on the chest lightly. Naruto looks at the class. What, haven't you ever seen someone kiss their fiancé before? This caused everyone's jaws to go deeper into the floor and more blood to leak from Iruka's nose. After a few minchus everyone recovers and Iruka clears his throat. Okay Naruto, Hinata, if you will take your seats, we will start the written exam. Naruto and Hinata nod before giving each other a quick kiss on the lips and going to their seats. Iruka then has Mizuki pass out the tests, who then proceeds to give everyone a test before coming to Naruto and gives him his while before turning around and smiling to himself. Well, he thinks, let's see the demon brat pass that. Naruto looks at the test and notices that they are at least Jounin level questions, realizing that it's under a Jinjutsu before thinking, so he is one of the people who hates me for holding a Kane-chan. Well, let's just fix this, shall we? A Kane-chan, you got that right Naruto-kun. Let's show then what happens when they mess with my little brother. Akane speaks through the mental link they set up. A few years back Naruto then dispels the Jinjutsu and answers the questions, getting them all right, and then waits for everyone else to finish. 30 minutes later, Iruka looks at the clock before turning to the class. All right, that's time, pencils down and bring your tests to me. Before heading outside to the training field everyone gets up and heads outside. Everyone stands outside at the throwing range as Iruka and Mizuki walk up. Okay, now we will test your shuriken jutsu. When I call your name, come up and pick up 10 shuriken and 10 kunai and throw them at the training dummies. He then proceeds to call people one by one. Choji gets a 7/10 for both shuriken and kunai. Shikamaru gets a 6/10 for shuriken and kunai, barely trying while trying enough so he passes. Shino gets a 7/10 for shuriken and 8/10 for kunai. Kiba gets a 7/10 for both shuriken and kunai. Both Ino and Sakura get 6/10 for both shuriken and kunai. Hinata gets a 8/10 for both kunai and shuriken. Sasuke gets a 8/10 for shuriken and a 9/10 for kunai, causing his fangirls to scream about how he is the best. He walks from the throwing spot and gives Naruto a look that says beat that dope. Naruto just ignores him. Iruka then calls Naruto's name. Naruto walks up to the line and picks up the kunai and shuriken. Iruka looks at him and says whenever you're ready Naruto. Naruto nods and gets into a throwing stance before throwing all 10 kunai at once, followed by all 10 shuriken. After he is done most of the class laughs thinking he missed and Sakura yells, the baka can't even hit the target. Everyone then looks to Iruka, who has his eyes wide and his jaw wide open, before turning to Naruto. Great job Naruto, perfect score and bonus points for hitting other vital points. This shuts everyone up and Sakura yells, what are you taking about sensei? He missed everyone. Iruka then turns to Sakura. No Sakura, he not only hit everyone, he placed them in places that are all fatal, ranging from the throat, lungs, kidneys, liver, and finally the eyes. This shuts her up, while everyone just looks on with wide eyes and Sasuke grits his teeth due to the dope getting a higher score. Iruka then says okay, next up is Taijutsu. First up is Shino Aburam versus random civilian 1. Iruka starts the match and within a few minutes the winner is Shino. Next is Choji versus Shikamaru. Shikamaru forfeit stating it's too troublesome. Then Ino versus Sakura, which ends in a draw. draw, next is Kiba vs. Random Civilian 2 and Kiba wins fairly quickly, Hinata wins against Random Civilian 3. Finally Iruka calls Sasuke Uchiha vs Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto steps into the ring and gets into a stance as Sasuke walks into the ring. You should give up now Dobe, there is no way you can beat me in Uchiha, we are the elite of this village, no one is better than us, as he gets into the Uchiha interceptor fist style. Naruto just laughs, if that's the case Sasuke, then why haven't there been any Uchiha Hokages then? If your clan is the best like you say, then by definition, every single Hokage would have been one, or at least one of them would have been. But nope, there isn't a single Hokage that's been in Uchiha, so that must mean your clan isn't as great as you say it is. Everyone just stands there in silence before Kiba and the rest of the boys start laughing. Hinata giggles, while Sakura and the rest of the fangirls start screaming at Naruto. Sasuke gets furious before yelling I will kill you Dobe and charging at Naruto. Sasuke throws a wild punch at Naruto's head, but Naruto just moves his head to the side before giving a hard uppercut to Sasuke's chin, sending him flying into the air. Naruto then jumps into the air, delivers a devastating axe kick to Sasuke's stomach, send him crashing into the ground where he bounces off the ground. Naruto then lands beside him before delivering a spin kick which sends him flying out of the ring into a tree. Everyone stands there in silence, watching what can only be described as a slaughter before Sasuke goes flying out of the ring and hits a tree. Iruka recovers from his shock before saying winner Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto turns around to leave the ring as Sasuke starts to get up. Sasuke, who's furious, starts going through hand seals. Iruka notices this and tries to rush to stop him, but is too late as Sasuke stops and takes a deep breath before yelling fire style. Grand Fireball Jutsu, a medium-sized fire blows out of his mouth and heads toward Naruto, who turns around just in time to see the fireball hit him. Everyone watches in horror as they see the fireball hit Naruto, and Sakura yells yeah, that's what you get for not letting Sasuke-kun win, like you should have Baka, now you're dead, and laughs. Everyone turns to look at her with a WTF expression on their face, right before Hinata hits her with a Juken strike, knocking her out. Sasuke begins laughing manically, that's what you get Dobe when you go against an elite like myself. He then suddenly feels something cold and metal on his throat and turns to see Naruto next to him completely unharmed, holding a kunai to his throat with a murderous look in his eyes, before he says, so you think you can try to kill a fellow leaf shinobi, just they beat you in perfectly legal spar. You do know that what you just did counts as treason, right team, which means I am well within my rights to simply end you life right here, you pathetic sack of shit. Why your brother left you alive instead of someone like your mother or his friend Shunsui, I will never know. But understand this right now Sasuke, if you ever try to kill another leaf shinobi I will personally cut your balls off, cut your eyes out of head and make you eat them before placing your balls in your eye sockets, before cutting that tiny penicl dick of yours and shove it down your throat, before shoving my foot so far up your ass I will force the pole that stuck up there out your mouth. Do I make myself clear? He yelled, leaking massive amounts of ki killing intent, all pointed directly at Sasuke, who could only nod slowly as he pissed and shit his pants before passing out. Naruto turns toward Iruka and says sorry about that. Iruka-sensei just had to get a point across to the team, and considering how thick his skull is, I thought it would be best if I went about it that way. Iruka nods his head very well Naruto, considering what Sasuke attempted you are well within your right to do that, and I will be brining his actions up with the Hokage, so he will definitely get punished. Naruto nods his head, I don't think that will be necessary, isn't that right Anbu-san? And Anbu with a Inu mask jumps down and nods to Naruto, very impressive on being able to find me Naruto, how were you able to do so? If I might ask, Naruto smile. I was able to smell you. The Anbu just stand there, and what do I smell? Like, if I might ask? Naruto beckons the Anbu over and whispers in his ear. The Anbu suddenly flinches before standing up. Well, I will keep that in mind Naruto, and thank you for the advice. Now I will take the Uchiha to clean himself up before taking him to the Hokage. Have a nice day. Naruto smiles. You too Inu-san. The Anbu then leaves. Naruto turns toward the class and asks what? Iruka looks at him and asks what did you tell him Naruto pats his fist into his palm and his eyes a little before grinning sadistically. I told him he smells like semen, alcohol, and shame, and that he may want to lay off on playing his skin flute before going out on patrol, or at least take a shower to wash of the shame and smell. Before he does so Iruka and everyone just stand there with their jaws on the ground before bursting out in laughter. After about 10 minutes they calm down and Iruka speaks, okay, now that that's out of our system, let's start the final part of the exam, the ninjutsu portion. When I call you name please perform a hinge, substitution and finally the Bunshin clone in that order, and if you have any other jutsu for extra credit. Okay, first up is one by one, the class went up to take the test with the civilians mostly failing with all the clan heirs and Sakura and I wish I could just fail her right here, each performing the 3 required jutsu and an extra credit. 1 Choji use his partial expansion jutsu. Shikamaru use his Kajimane jutsu. Ino use her mind body switch jutsu on Shikamaru to make him do an embarrassing dance. Shino used his clan's bug clone jutsu. Kiba used his clan's man beast clone with Akamaru. Sakura used some pathetic ninjutsu on random civilian 4. Hinata used her clan's 32 palm strike. And finally it was Naruto's turn. Iruka looks at Naruto. Okay Naruto, please perform the henge. Naruto nods and instantly changes into a perfect copy of the yondaime before Iruka gives him the signal to release it. Very good Naruto, a perfect transformation and without hand seals, bonus points for that. Now please perform the substitution. Naruto nods and smiles sadistically. Suddenly there is a poof of smoke and the sandaime is there reading a very familiar orange book with blood leaking from his nose. Iruka looks at him and clears his throat. Hokage-sama. The sandaime looks up and sees Iruka and everyone else before asking Naruto. Iruka nods his head and suddenly the Hokage goes up in a poof of smoke and Naruto is standing there again. Snickering, Iruka sighs and looks at Naruto. Okay Naruto, now please perform the bunshin. Naruto tilts his head and asks Iruka sensei, can it be a variation of the bunshin? Iruka nods his head and Naruto then closes his eyes. Suddenly the whole training field goes up in smoke. When it clears there are at least 500 Naruto clones standing there doing various things from cleaning their nails to play rock paper scissors with each other. Iruka sees this and his jaw hits the ground and he drops his clipboard. Naruto, are these what I think they are? Naruto nods, yep, they are shadow clones. Kiba then asks Iruka sensei, what are shadow clones? Iruka gathers himself before answering Kiba. The shadow clone jutsu is a A rank kinjutsu. Due to the large amount of chakra needed to perform it, it requires so much chakra that most jounin can only make between 5 to 10 before they run out of chakra. Hokage-sama himself could only make around 100 when he was in his prime. But for Naruto to make over 500 in one sitting and not even be winded is astounding alone, but to do so at the age of 13 is just mind-boggling. Everyone's jaws hit the ground as they look at Naruto. Iruka finally recovers from the shock as Naruto dispels the clones. Okay Naruto, I have a feeling I am going to regret saying this, but do you have a jutsu you would like to perform for extra credit? Not that you need it at this point. Another sadistic smile appears on Naruto's face, sending shivers down everyone's spines before he says, yeah Iruka sensei, but everyone needs to step back, it's kind of big. Iruka nods and steps with everyone else. Naruto closes his eyes before suddenly opening them and saying sorry in soul. Tyrannosaurus Rex. Naruto then begins to change. His face gets longer, his teeth lengthen and turn to fangs, his spine gets longer and forms a tail, his fingers and toes turn into claws, his skin becomes hard, dry, bumpy, and leathery. And finally he grows in size, his head and body get taller and longer and larger, till he was easily reaching 20 feet tall, and at least 40 feet long from nose to tail. Everyone minus Hinata looks on in shock and terror at the creature before them as it raises its head to the sky and lets out a loud roar before changing back to Naruto. When he was done changing back, Iruka finally recovers from his shock before shakily asking Naruto, what was that? Naruto chuckles that Iruka sensei is part of my never before seen bloodline called Saurian Soul. However, I can't go into details about what it is and what I can do, but I can tell I can turn into creatures similar to that one. He finishes with another sadistic smile. Iruka sighs and runs the bridge of his nose. Okay Naruto, I understand and you get extra credit for it. Now that the end of the exam, those of you that passed come back in a week for team placements. After saying that, everyone begins to leave. Naruto and Hinata leave holding hands. As they walk, Naruto turns to Hinata, so Hinata, how was the academy? Hinata giggles, well Naruto-kun, it was okay, but it would have been better if you were there with me. He smiles, I know Hinata-chan, but you know why I couldn't be there with you? She smiles sadly, yeah, I can't believe how stupid the villagers are. Naruto laughs, you can me both. Anko-chan says hi by the way and looks forward to the next time she can't help you train. Hinata shivers at that, remembering the couple of times she asked Anko to help her train. After meeting Anko, the two started to talk about various things like girl stuff, the future, and of course Naruto, and after some time they decided that they would share Naruto, because due to how his early childhood had been, they believed he should get as much love as possible, and if that means they share him then all the better. They also decided that if any other girls were to come into his life, then as long as they truly loved him, then they were welcome to share him with them. Hinata smiles while remembering that. They continue to walk and it begins to get darker, so Naruto decided to walk Hinata home. As they near the Hyuga compound, Naruto remembers something. Hey Hinata-chan, do you still have that little gift Anko-chan gave you when you two decided to share me? Hinata blushes atomic red before quietly answering, yes Naruto-kun, I still have it, and that was the most embarrassing thing I have ever done in my life. Naruto chuckles, remembering that when Anko and Hinata decided to share Naruto, Anko decided they should celebrate, which led to Anko getting a orange 9-tailed fox tattooed on her ass cheek, Hinata getting one on her inner thigh, and Naruto getting the tattoos that are on his chest and arm. As they reach the Hyuga compound, Naruto gives Hinata a quick kiss on the lips and bids her goodnight as she goes in, and he leaves. After walking a little, he notices Mizuki running with a big scroll tied to his back with Iruka-sensei chasing him. Sensing something off, he creates a clone to go and inform the Hokage while he chases after him. Mizuki was thrilled. He couldn't believe how easy it had been to steal the forbidden scroll. Now all he had to do was deliver it his master Orochimaru, and he would not only be rich but also powerful. As he was jumping through the trees, he noticed he was being followed and stopped for a second to find both Iruka and Naruto in front of him and says, "Well, look what we have, her Iruka and the demon brat himself. Just when I thought this couldn't get any better, now I can kill the demon brat before I bring this scroll to Orochimaru-sama." Naruto just chuckles. "So you think you can kill us and get away with the forbidden scroll, man? I could tell you were stupid, Mizuki team, but this is beyond stupid. You're not going anywhere." Mizuki just laughs. "You stop me, you've got to be kidding me before I kill you. Do you want to know why you're hated?" Naruto Iruka's eyes widen. "No, Mizuki, it's forbidden." But Mizuki ignores him and throws a bunch of kunai and shuriken at him, which surprises him, allowing them to hit him. "Shut up, Iruka. Now what do you say?" Naruto "Want to know why you're hated?" Naruto just tilts his head. "Sure, why not?" Mizuki then goes on to tell him about the Kyuubi, how it was sealed in him, and all that jazz. When he is done, Naruto just laughs. Mizuki gets frustrated and yells, "What's so funny, demon?" Naruto stops laughing and looks at Mizuki. "I have known about the Kyuubi since I was 5 years old," shocking Mizuki and Iruka. Before he continues, "Furthermore, you said the Kyuubi was sealed in mean, which makes me the Kyuubi. But if you fill a glass with water, does the glass become the water?" At this, Mizuki and Iruka's eyes widen before a small smile comes to Iruka's face. "Now, Mizuki, you have attempted to kill Leaf Shinobi, stolen the forbidden scroll, and reveal it and S-rank secret, which means that your sentence is death." Naruto finishes with a sadistic smirk on his face as he calls out multi-shadow clone jutsu. The forest is then filled with at least 500 Narutos, all of which have the same sadistic smirk before all the clones say sorry in soul. Velociraptor. All the clones turn into velociraptors and look at Mizuki, who by this point is pissing himself, at which point all 500 Velociraptor clones attack at once, and all he can do is scream as he is torn to shreds. Iruka looks on as Mizuki is torn to shreds, leaving only his head and the scroll untouched, and feels like he is going to throw up. Naruto walks over to him and begins pulling out the kunai and shuriken. "You alright, Iruka-sensei?" Iruka nods before saying Naruto about what Mizuki said, but Naruto cuts him off. "It's okay, Iruka-sensei, like I said, I have known since I was 5, and when Jai shows you up and we get back to his office, everything will be explained." Naruto then finishes pulling out the last of the shuriken and kunai before going over and picking up the forbidden scroll and Mizuki's head just as the Hokage and Samanbu show up. The Sandaime looks at the Sen before him, looking at Naruto and smiling. "Good work, Naruto, mission complete," he says and winks slightly. Naruto catches on and plays along. "Of course, Hokage-sama, like we thought the Mizuki was the traitor," and after confirming this, following him here where I joined Iruka-sensei in confronting him, Mizuki proceeded to break an S-rank law punishable by death, along with the attempted murder of 2 Leaf Shinobi and the theft of the forbidden scroll with the intention to bring it to the traitor Orochimaru. I eliminated him and retrieved the scroll while attending to Iruka-sensei's injuries before you showed up." The Hokage nods and turns to his Anbu Inu. "Take a scud to see if there are any others around that might be waiting for Mizuki, and if so, try to capture them, but if unable to take them alive, you have authorization to kill them." Inu nods and leaves with most of the Anbu, leaving only the Hokage, the Anbu named Nico, Naruto and Iruka in the clearing. The Sandaime then turns towards Nico. "Nico, help Iruka up, we are heading at my office." Nico nods and does so before the 4 of the Shushin to the Hokage's office. Once they reach the office, the Sandaime has the other Anbu leave before activating a privacy. "Nico, remove your mask." Nico nods and does so, revealing a beautiful young woman in her mid-20s with violet eyes and purple hair. "This is Yugao Yuzuki, Anbu agent." "Nico," she smiles at Naruto. "It's been a while, Naruto-kun. How have you been?" Naruto walks over and gives her a hug. "I've been good, Yugao ni, how are you?" "And hey, Nai," she smiles. "We're good, Naruto-kun. Now let's see what Hokage-sama has to say." Naruto nods and releases the hug before turning to the Hokage. Hiruzen smiles before turning toward Iruka. "Iruka, what we are about to tell you is an S-rank secret, so it must not be told to anyone." Iruka gulps and nods. The Hokage and Naruto then proceed to tell Iruka everything about Naruto, his parents, the Kyuubi, the relationship between them, and so on. By the time they are done, Iruka's mind is blown. The Hokage then tells him he can and he does so. Yugao then gives Naruto another hug before leaving herself. Naruto then turns towards the Hokage, who smiles at him and pulls out some money. "Naruto, I am classifying this incident as an A-rank mission for you, so here is your pay, and I have to say you haven't even been a shinobi for a day yet and already captured a traitor. I look forward to seeing your career, my boy, if this is just the start of it." Naruto smiles. Well, you know me, Jai Jai, he chuckles, then walks to the window and jumps on the windowsill. Well, see you later, Jai Jai. Anko-chan is probably waiting for me. Naruto then jumps out the window and begins running on rooftops towards the forest of death. Hiruzen just looks out the window and watches him go, thinking, Naruto, your will of fire burns so brightly that it breathes life into people whose own will of fire has weakened. He then sits back down at his desk to fight the greatest foe to ever exist, paperwork. Naruto arrives back at the tower in the forest of death and spots Anko munching on some leftover dango. He smirks and sneaks up behind her before wrapping his arms around her waist and kissing her name, causing her to let out a moan, and turns her head to see Naruto. You know, Naruto-kun, it's not very smart to sneak up on me. He chuckles before kissing her neck again. I can't help it, especially considering how much I love you and how beautiful you are. Anko blushes a little as she thinks how much she has changed in the 8 years they have been together. She still wears her violet hair in the same pineapple ponytail. She now wears a long tan trench coat that reaches her heels. She has on a black miniskirt held up by a belt that has a snake wrapped around a fox head holding it up. She wears a black mini top with a fishnet mesh shirt covering it, black shin guards and arm guards, and a pair of black combat boots like Naruto. Naruto sits down at the table and grabs a stick of dango as Anko asks, so how was your first and last day of the academy? Naruto smiles and begins to tell her how his day went, starting with how he entered the classroom, which causes her to laugh and tell him good job. He then tells her how everyone reacted to not only him joining them, but him being Hinata's fiancé, which makes her laugh. Naruto then tells her about the tests, how Mizuki tried to sabotage, and how Sasuke tried to kill him after being beaten, which caused her to nearly storm out and kill the team, before Naruto calms her down and tells her how he dealt with him. Then he tells her of the ninjutsu test and how he got extra credit, which causes her to laugh again. Naruto then tells her how he walked Hinata home and found out she still has the tattoo on her inner thigh. Anko blushes a little before laughing at that, remembering that day. Naruto then tells her about taking care of Mizuki, saving Iruka, and returning the forbidden scroll to Jai Jai. When he finishes, Anko just looks at him and smiles. All that in less than a day of being a shinobi. Damn, Naruto-kun, that's impressive. She then gives him a quick kiss on the lips before getting up and leads him to the bedroom. Come on, Naruto-kun, time for bed. You've had a busy day and need your rest, Anko says as she begins undressing until she is in just her purple bra and thong before getting under the blankets. Naruto then gets undressed till he is in his burnt orange boxers and get under the blankets next to her, holding her in his arms before kissing her forehead. Good night, my Hebe queen, he says. She smiles and kisses his forehead. Good night, by Foxy King, she says as they fall asleep in each other's arms. Naruto woke the next morning to find his vision blocked by something, and judging by how soft it was, he had a very good idea as to what it was. Anko's D cup. He smiles and thinks, I don't know how you do it, Anko-chan, but why is it that every morning you somehow end up without your bra, even though you were wearing it when we went to bed? He slides out from under her and places a pillow in his place before covering her back up with a blanket and going to make breakfast. As Naruto makes breakfast, he thinks on what he should do for the next few days before team placements. Let's see, team placements are in 6 days. That gives me time to get to know my fellow genin minus Sakura. He shudders and prays to Kami that he isn't placed on a team with a Banshee, I mean Sakura. I should probably keep training, take Hinata on a few dates, and prepare for the shitstorm that those damn civilian counselors are going to send my way when they find out about me beating their precious Yaheha. Why does Jai Jai even keep them around? All they do is bitch about things that they have no say in. Naruto chuckles and sadistic smirk comes to his face as he plans for the inevitable meeting with the councils before continuing to make breakfast. Naruto finishes placing breakfast on the table as Anko comes out scratching the back of her head while yawning. Morning, Naruto-kun, what's for breakfast? He smiles. Well, Anko-chan, we have eggs, toast, bacon and your favorite dango. However, I suggest you take a look at your current state of dress before you start eating. Anko looks down at what she is wearing and notices he is only wearing her purple thong before looking back up at Naruto, who is smirking. Now, Anko-chan, as beautiful as you are and how much I enjoy seeing you wearing just panties, I think you should get dressed. Anko blushes before smirking and cupping her. What's the matter, Naruto-kun? Are you afraid you won't be able to control yourself seeing me like this? Naruto walks over and gives her quick kiss on lips before smirking. Not at all, Anko-chan, it's just if you keep walking around like it would only be fair if I started walking around in just my boxers and you likely jump me right then and there. Now go get dressed or no. Dango. Anko blushes at being out teased before realizing what he said and rushes to get dresses lest she risks her dango. Naruto smiles before sitting and waiting for her to return. After they finish breakfast and Naruto washes the dishes while Anko dries them, she turns to him. So Naruto-kun, what do you plan to do for the few days until team placements? He thinks for a minute. Well, I was thinking of training some more. If you want to join me, maybe we could get Hinata-chan to join us, seeing how it's been a while since she did so. Anko smiles sadistically at the thought of training Hinata again before Naruto sees this and smiles. Now, Anko-chan, I know what you're thinking, but try to keep the injuries down to a minimum this time, especially since Hinata can't find out which team she is on if she is in the hospital. Anko pouts a little before Naruto kisses her forehead. Now none of that Anko-chan, if we're lucky I will get placed on Hinata-chan's team with you, as our sensei, that way the three of us can train together, all we want. Anko instantly stops pouting as that thought comes to her mind. Now other than training, I was thinking of getting to know the others who graduated and preparing for the inevitable meeting with the councils when they hear how I kicked the Uchiha's ass. Naruto smiles, remembering the ass kicking he gave the Team Emo King. Anko smirks at hearing that and says, okay Naruto-kun, sounds like a plan, just remember to bring a camera to the council meeting. I want to see their faces when you show them why they shouldn't mess with you. Naruto smiles before giving her a quick peck on the lips. Of course my Hebe queen was already planning to. Anko, you better my foxy king or you're sleeping on the couch for a week. Naruto shudders remembering the last time he had to sleep on the couch after accidentally ruining Anko's dango. Naruto gives her one last kiss before they leave the tower to go and train. 1 week later, the week passed by quickly for Naruto. The first day he met up with Hinata and they went on a date in the park before watching the sunset from the top of Hokage Monument. The next day Naruto got to know his fellow genin minus Sakura and found they were pretty cool. Shino was pretty quiet, but Naruto could tell what he was saying by reading his body language. Shikamaru and Choji were pretty fun to be around despite Shikamaru being really lazy and Choji always eating something. Kiba tried to challenge him for Hinata-chan, saying that as an alpha she was his, which ended with Naruto kicking the shit out of him figuratively and literally. The rest of the week Naruto hung out with Hinata and Anko, either training or just relaxing. It was the day of team placements, and Naruto was standing on the roof of the building across from the academy, wearing his usual trench coat, combat boots, red cargo pants, fishnet shirt, and black sunglasses, thinking about how he would enter the classroom. He noticed Iruka just walk in before standing behind the podium and instantly came up with a way to enter. Smiling sadistically he sinks into the roof. Iruka had just entered his classroom and told everyone to shut up before doing roll call. As he went down the list he came to Naruto's name and silently prayed he wouldn't do any like when he first introduced himself. And oh poor Iruka, he has no idea what Naruto has in store for him. But I do cue evil smile. As he called Naruto's name something started to come out the top of the podium slowly. Inch by inch it came out till it revealed it was Naruto's head. He had a creepy smile on his face that would make Orochimaru shiver before he suddenly said I'm here in a very creepy sing-song voice that nearly made Iruka have a heart attack as he jumped into the air, screaming like a little fangirl and using chakra to stick the wall. Naruto rises the rest of the way out of the podium till he is standing on and begins laughing. Sorry Iruka-sensei, couldn't resist after all. It's the last day that you will be my sensei. He then turns toward the back of the room. Did you get all that on camera? He asks. Suddenly a shadow clone appears holding a camera and nods his yeah boss. Just like you said to, now to go get it developed and pass it around the village. See ya, the clone responds before running off. Iruka finally gathers himself before thinking, why does it feel like there is some all-powerful deity that enjoys having Naruto either embarrass me or make me want to drink? He then turns toward the class, many of whom are snickering, a tick mark before clearing his throat, and begins a speech about he is proud of them. This is only the beginning, and all that mumbo jumbo. Kiba then asks, hey Iruka-sensei, where is Mizuki-sensei? Naruto snickers and Iruka flinches. Well, it turns out Mizuki was not only altering grades which affected the team placements, but the night of the graduation exam he stole the forbidden scroll with the intent to sell it to our enemies. At this many in the class gasp. However, thankfully Naruto noticed him acting funny and informed the Hokage before chasing after him and confronting him, at which time I showed up. At this, the class looks at Naruto, who merely shrugs. Iruka then continues, Mizuki then immobilized me before being defeated by Naruto, who when performed first aid saving my life, at which time the Hokage showed up. He finishes with a smile at Naruto. Okay, now on with the teams. Team 1 to 6 not important. He then continues. Team 7 under Kakashi Haddock will be Sasuke Uchiha, Sakura Hair and Q loud squeal and rant about Tura love wins all. And Kiba Inuzuka. At this Kiba just slams his head on his desk and Naruto pats him on the shoulder. I feel for you Kiba. I really do. My advice, bring heavy duty earplugs if you want to stay sane. Kiba looks over and nods. Iruka continues going down the list. Team 9 is still in circulation, so Team 10 under Asuma Saratobi will be Shikamaru Nara, Choji Akimichi, and Ino Yamanaka. At this Ino just groans. Iruka ignores her and continue. Now here is where things get interesting. Team 8 under Kurina Yuhi will be Shino Aburam and Hinata Hyuga. However, due to a Jonin taking an interest in Naruto's skills and wanting to take him as an apprentice, that leaves Team 8 short a member, so Hokage Sama decided to place him on Team 8 with his sensei, meaning Team 8 will now be Shino Aburam, Hinata Hyuga, and Naruto Uzumaki under Kurina Yuhi with Ko-sensei. But before he can finish, the window breaks and in flies a black ball that opens to reveal a banner that reads the sexy but taken Anko Mitarashi soon to be Uzumaki at the bottom is a chibi drawing of Naruto in a tuxedo with Anko hanging off him wearing a wedding gown. Next to the banner is none other than Anko herself with a shit-eating grin on her face as she looks at Naruto, whose simple smile and thinks I should have known it would be Anko. This is just like her. Iruka looks at Anko. Anko-san, you're early. She merely chuckles and says sorry about that, just couldn't wait to get my cute little genins and begin their torture training. Yeah, that's right. Iruka sighs. The door suddenly opens and in walks a black-haired woman with red eyes wearing black sandals, a black skirt and a red and white dress that looks like it's made of bandages. She turns to Anko and glares, damn it Anko, I told you to wait, we are early. Anko just chuckles and rubs the back of her head. Sorry Kurenai-chan, I was excited. Kurenai's eye begins to twitch. Fine, okay teammate, meet us on the roof in 10 minutes. Naruto, Hinata and Shino nod. Befo getting up when suddenly Kiba looks at Anko and says wait a minute, the banner said you're soon to be Anko Uzumaki. But the only Uzumaki is Naruto and he is engaged to Hinata. Anko just smiles, that's correct, but so am I. There is utter silence and you could hear a pin drop when suddenly everyone minus Naruto, Hinata, Anko, Kurenai and Shino yells at once. Naruto chuckles and rubs the back of his head before answering what everyone is thinking. Yes, I am engaged to both Hinata and Anko. Due to me being the last known Uzumaki, I fall under the CRA, which forces me to take multiple wives. However, just because I will only marry if both myself and the women I am to marry love each other. He finishes. Kiba and the rest of the boys in claws minus Choji, Shikamaru and obviously Sasuke then gets up, stand in front of Naruto before dropping down to their hands and knees before bowing their heads up and down before creepily chanting as one, all hail Naruto Uzumaki-sama, the manliest man, the sage of manliness, please teach us your ways in manliness, we are not worthy, we are not worthy. Naruto and the rest of teammate just stands there with sweat drops on their heads. Naruto then turns to Iruka sensei for some help, only to find him also bowing down to him. While chanting, Naruto shakes his head and looks at the rest of teammate. Can we just go? This is getting too weird even for me. They just shake their heads and head to the roof. When they reach the roof, Kurenai looks at them. Okay, now that we're away from, how about we introduce ourselves? I will start. My name is Kurenai Yuhi. My like are Jinjutsu, training, my friends, wine and reading. My dislike are perverts, rapists and traitors. My dream is to become the best Jinjutsu user in the elemental nations. See you 3 reach Jonin and have a family. She finishes, turning towards Anko. Anko smiles. My name is Anko Mitarashi, soon to be Uzumaki. My like are Naruto-kun, snakes, sake, dango, and my friends. My dislikes are perverts, rapists, and a certain traitor. My dreams for the future are to kill said traitor, marry Naruto-kun and have a family with him. She finishes before turning to Hinata. Hinata nods and says my name is Hinata Hyuga, soon to be Uzumaki. My likes are Naruto-kun, Anko-sensei, training, and cinnamon buns. My dislikes are perverts, rapists, traitors, and the cage bird seal. My dreams for the future are to abolish the cage bird seal and unite the main and branch families, marry Naruto-kun and have a family. She smiles at the end and turns to Shino. Shino nods before saying my name is Shino Aburam. My likes are insects and honey. My dislikes are people who kill insects for no reason and traitors. My dream is to become head of my clan and breed insects to make a new breed. Shino finishes by pushes his sunglasses up and turns towards Naruto. Naruto smiles before saying my name is Naruto Uzumaki. My likes are Anko-chan, Hinata-chan, Raymond, the moon, training, foxes, snakes and reptiles in general, music, singing, playing my guitar, and cooking. My dislikes are traitors, rapists, perverts, the time it takes to cook ramen, and people who can't tell the difference between a kunai and a scroll. It's sealed in. My dream for the future is to get stronger to protect my precious people, bring peace to the elemental nations, become Hokage, and have a family. He finishes with smile. Everyone nods before Kurenai says now we will head to training ground 8 for the real genin exam. Nobody seems surprised by this, so Kurenai asks what's wrong. Usually this is where you ask what I mean. Naruto just chuckles. Well Kurenai-sensei, it's pretty obvious that there would be another test that is designed to weed out the rest of the weaker candidates while at the same time showing if those on teams can put aside their differences to work together to complete the mission, which means that the test you're referring to is merely a test on teamwork, and now that we have figured that out we would work together and pass the test. Kurenai just stands there shocked as she looks at Naruto, who in less than a minute figure out the real meaning behind the test. Naruto gets up and walks over to her before closing her mouth. Now Kurenai-sensei, it not very ladylike to stand there with mouth hanging open. Okay, he finishes with a smile, making Kurenai blush before regaining her composure and saying okay, then you 3 pass. Now let's go to training ground 8 to train before we start taking missions tomorrow. Everyone nods before heading to the training field. After training for a few hours, Kurenai and Anko tell them they are done for the day and to go home and rest up. They then head to the Hokage tower to report about their team. When they reach the Hokage's office, the other Jonin senseis hokages are there waiting. The only ones worth mentioning are a tall man wearing the standard Jonin outfit, he has black spiky hair and a black trimmed beard, and is smoking a cigarette. This is Asuma Sarutobi, leader of Team 10, and son to the Hokage Hiruzen Sarutobi, next to his Kakashi Haddock, leader of Team 7. The Hokage notices Kurenai and Anko walk in and clears his throat. Okay, now report on which teams pass and failed. The leaders of teams 1 to 6 all report that their teams failed. Kakashi steps up, Team 7 passes, but barely. The biggest problems are Sasuke Uchiha and Sakura Haruno. Sasuke wants nothing to do with his teammates and only cares about getting stronger. It is in my personal opinion that if it meant him gaining more power, he would gladly either abandon or kill his teammates or a fellow leaf shinobi. Case in point, the incident where he attempted to kill Naruto Uzumaki after he losing to him in a spar. Sakura, on the other hand, only cares about impressing Sasuke. Iba tried to bring the team together to get the bells, but they blew him off, and it was only after giving them a second chance did they pass. He finishes. The Hokage thinks for a minute Sasuke shall be forced to go see Inoichi weekly to check his mental state. If he fails once, he shall be stripped of his shinobi license, have his chakra sealed, and become a civilian, he said, shocking some of the Jonin. He then turned to Asuma, who his report that Team 10 passed. The Sandame nodded before turning toward Kurenai and Anko. Kurenai, Anko, your turn, he said with a smile, already having an idea of how things went. Kurenai cleared her throat. Well, Hokage Sam teammate passed with flying colors. She then goes on to explain how Naruto figured out the true meaning of the test less than a minute after they were told they were not genin yet. She then proceeded to tell him of the training session they had, along with Naruto revealing his bloodline, which shocked the Jonin that didn't know he had one. When she was done, the Hokage merely chuckles, drawing everyone's attention. Well, it seems Naruto is finally revealing his skills, and the way he did so is just like him. Okay, everyone is dismissed. The Jonin leave, and the Hokage just chuckles. He then turns toward one of the corners of the room and says, Nico, please inform the council that there will be a meeting that they all are to attend in the next 30 minutes. Then go and inform Naruto of it. He probably already has a good idea of what it's about. Nico nods before leaving, and the Hokage chuckles and thinks time to go bust some heads. 30 minutes later, the Hokage sits at the head of a U-shaped ring of bleachers. On either side of him sit his advisors Kaharu and Thing 1 and Thing 2, also known as Danzo and Watts. His name on the left side of him sits the civilian council. Aka the peanut gallery on his right side sat the shinobi council, which consisted of Shikaku Nara, Chauza Akimichi, Inoichi Yamanaka, Tsumen Yazuka, Shibi Aburame and Hiyashi Hyuga. Shikaku, Chauza, Shibi and Inoichi look like older versions of their kids, except in Inoichi's case, an older male version of Ino. Hiyashi looks the same as when Naruto met him 8 years ago. Tsumen Zuka, the Inyazuka clan head and mother of Hana Inyazuka and Kiba Inuzuka, is about 5'6" with high D cup. She wears long gray pants, black shinobi sandals, and a gray jacket with a hood pulled up. Next to her sat a lager gray furred dog with an eye patch. This was her nin dog companion Kuromaru. The Hokage clears his throat. We are gathered here to not only welcome back two of Konoha's most treasured clans, but also reveal a new bloodline that has been discovered. There were murmurs about which clans the Hokage was talking about before he silenced them and looked at the door and said, please come in now. The door opened and in walked Naruto wearing his usual outfit. He walked up to stand before the Hokage, a smile on his face before bowing the Hokage. As soon as he finished bowing, one of the civilian counselors decided to be stupid and voice his opinion. Hokage-sama, what is the demon? He never finished his sentence as Naruto threw a kunai that hit the man in the head, killing him instantly, and just like that the civilian council erupted into chaos, yelling for him to be killed. Well, he simple smiled. The Hokage merely chuckled before yelling shut up while blasting the civilians with his ki. Now before that idiot opened his mouth and broke a S-rank law, which is punishable death. Thank you for dealing with that. By the way, Naruto merely smiles before nodding his head. Now, as I was saying, we are here to welcome back both the Uzumaki clan and the Namikaze clan, along with a new bloodline. Now, because some of you are too slow or stupid to figure this out on your own, Naruto is the heir of both clones and the holder of a new bloodline. He pulls out a folder. In this folder is the birth certificate of one Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, made mere second after he was born and signed by the Yondaime Hokage himself. Minato Namikaze, Naruto's father, and Kushina Uzumaki, Naruto's mother. He holds up the document before handing it to Hiyashi and asks him to authenticate it. Hiyashi looks at the document with his Byakugan before looking up and saying this document is real. There are residual chakra signatures of both Minato Namikaze and Kushina Uzumaki that match Naruto's, therefore he is the son of both Minato Namikaze and Kushina Uzumaki. He finishes, leaving everyone that didn't already know shocked. Suddenly one of the civilians stands up. I vote we enact the CRA on Namikaze-sama, and on behalf of the civilian council, apologize for how he has been treated. There is silence until Naruto starts laughing, and everyone minus the Hokage and Hiyashi look at him surprised. Naruto stops laughing before saying, oh, that's a good one, I haven't laughed like that in a long time. He looks towards the civilians and glares, so you apologize for not only making my life a living, But also basically pissing on the Yandame's grave, who is my father in case it didn't sink in yet, by taking his dying wish of me being seen as a hero like he wanted and completely disregarding. Well, here is what I have to say about that. Naruto takes a deep breath. Take your apology, shine it up real good before bending over and shoving it up your ass where you head. He yells. The entire room goes silent until Tsume starts laughing. Oh, Kami. He is definitely Kushina's son. She stops laughing after a few minchus. The counselor that apologized gets up and looks glare at Naruto. Now listen here, you little. But Naruto cuts him off. No, you listen, you worthless pile of shit, effectively shutting the man up. Naruto continues. You think I would honestly forgive a single one of bastards after how miserable you made my life? I am claiming my inheritance and have some news for all you civilians. Naruto then smiles sadistically, which makes the civilian counselors nervous and turns Tsume on a bit at the sheer amount of alphaness his radiating before he starts speaking again. With the combined fortunes of the Uzumaki and Namikaze, I am now the richest person in Konoha. Everyone's eyes nearly jump out of their head hearing this, but Naruto continues on. Not only that, but due to my father opening many businesses and housing projects along with those opened by my mother and Mito Uzumaki, I own more than 70% of the entire village. This nearly caused everyone to have a heart attack. But Naruto wasn't done yet. This means that if I wanted to, I could just take everything I own and leave the village, effectively destroying it, or I could just liquidate all of your assets, leaving all you of broke and homeless like you left me after I was kicked out of the orphanage at the age 3. This caused many of the civilians' counselors to nearly shit themselves, as they all were thinking the same thing. We're screwed. Naruto starts laughing before saying, that's right, you dumb fucks, I have you by the balls, and before I'm through with you, you're going to wish you were never born. Now here is what I am going to do starting first thing tomorrow. Each and every one of you is go to publicly reveal in front of the entire village every single thing you have done to make my life hell, and how you shit on my father's dying wish, and I will be right there to watch you do it. Now, in case you're thinking about lying, I have a surprise for you, because you see I have an ability that lets me tell if someone is lying or don't reveal the entire truth, and when I catch you lying, I will liquidate all your assets. After that is done, you will donate half of your entire fortune to the hospital and orphanage, and if you don't, I will liquidate all your assets, and if you don't like, then you can suck my glorious giant cock. Naruto finishes, leaving the civilian council shocked. Meanwhile, the entire shinobi council burst out laughing at what Naruto had just done and said. Naruto then turns to the Hokage. Now onto the CRA being enacted on my I'm all for cause. I have always wanted a big family, he says with a smile. However, I will be choosing my wives, because I will not marry unless both the women I am marrying and myself love each other. And on that note, I already have 3 fiancés, he said, shocking everyone that didn't know. He then continues, my first fiancé is Hinata Hyuga, who has been my fiancé for over 6 years. My second fiancé is Anko Midarashi, who has been my fiancé for 7 years, he said, shocking them. My third fiancé shall remain unnamed until the finals of the Chunin exams. However, if anyone tries to manipulate any of my fiancés or force them to break off the engagement, I will not only liquidate you assets, I will also make what the Kyuubi did, like a fight between academy students. Do I make myself clear? Naruto finishes with a smirk as he sees everyone nod before turning to the Hokage. Naruto looked at the Sandaime before smiling. Now Hokage-sama, I shall explain my bloodline, however, to this being a shinobi matter, doesn't that mean that the civilian council isn't needed? He finished. Hiruzen smiles, catching on to what Naruto is doing. Why, yes, it does. Anbu, please escort the civilian council out and make sure they get home safely, he says as the civilians are escorted out by Anbu. Naruto then smiles. Damn, I have wanted to do that for the last 8 years, he says with a laugh, causing the Hokage, Kaheru, and the shinobi council to chuckle. Naruto turns serious now. About my bloodline, I call it Saurian Soul. He begins as he goes on to explain how it allows him to transform into long-dead creatures called dinosaur. After he finishes explaining, Danzo and Thing to leave, and Naruto nods to the Hokage, who locks the door before setting up a privacy seal. Naruto then smiles. Now, then let the real explanation begin, he says, confusing everyone but the Hokage. Inoichi then voices the question on everyone's mind, but Naruto, you just explained what your bloodline can do. Naruto just chuckles. No, Inoichi-san, I only revealed the bare minimum to appease Danzo and his little pet. Now here is what I can actually do, he says, before explaining what he can really do, smiling as the looks on everyone's faces get more and more amusing. By the time Naruto is finished, everyone minus the Hokage and Hiashi's jaws are on the ground. Naruto smiles before asking, if you want, I can change into one of my forms to show you what it looks like, he says. Everyone nods, and Tsume asks, can we see this Tyrannosaurus Rex you spoke of, as she is a little curious at what this so-called Tyrant King looks like. Naruto nods. Of course, that actually happens to be one of my favorites, he says before stepping back to the middle of the room before closing his eyes and channeling the appropriate soul and opening them and saying Saurian Soul. Tyrannosaurus Rex as his changes into his T-Rex form, shocking everyone that hadn't seen it before and causing Tsume to cream herself while thinking, holy shit. He isn't a alpha, he is a freaking apex. What I wouldn't give to have him dominate me, maybe I can pair him up with Hana, she needs to finally get herself a man, they would be a cute couple, and if I play my cards right, I might be able to join her. Wait a minute, don't I have a contract of something at home somewhere? I'm going to have to check when I get home after I take a shower. That is, Naruto transforms back to his normal form and looks at the faces of everyone laughing inwardly. He clears his throat, getting everyone out of their shocked states. That is only of the forms I can take. So what do you think? Shibi is the first to respond. I have only 2 words to describe that. Holy shit. Everyone looks at Shibi, who merely raises an eyebrow while everyone shakes their head, while simultaneously saying never mind. Hiruzen simply chuckles. I believe this ends the meeting. Everyone have a nice night, he says as he gets up. Kaharu doing the same before she walks over to him and gives him a hug, to which he hugs back, and she says, it's good to see you Naruto-kun, I'm glad you're doing well. He smiles as they release each other. Me to Abe-san. How had your back been lately? She chuckles. It's been better Naruto-kun, but the past few days it's starting to hurt more and more. Naruto reaches into one of the pockets in his pants and pulls out a large bag of a strange green leaves with 5 points and hands it to her. Here Abe-san, I found these one day while training deep in the forest of death and found out that smoking them relieves all kinds of muscle aches. Kaharu's eyes go wide at hearing this before thanking him. Naruto then pulls out more bags and gives them to everyone except for Chaozu, who asks, why didn't I get a bag? Naruto chuckles. There is one side effect to using this weed, and that is you get the munchies, and you get them bad. One time after smoking some I ended up eating over 100 Naruto-sized bowls of ramen. At Ichiraku's everyone's eyes widen, thinking what would happen if someone formed the Akimichi clan smoked some of this weed. Naruto realizes they figured out what would happen exactly if an Akimichi were to smoke this. There is no telling how much they would eat. A shiver runs down Ivain's spine. Naruto then looks towards Shikaku and pull out a scroll before handing it to him. Here, this is a gift for Yoshino-san to thank her for those cooking lessons. Tsume then looks at Naruto before saying, Naruto, you must have huge balls of steel. Due to how you handled the civilians. Naruto just smirks before using Shunshin to appear behind and wrap his arms around her waist before leaning into her ear. They are more like titanium, and yes, they are huge, he whispers seductively before nibbling on her earlobe, causing her to let out a small moan before she catches herself and blushes, at which point Naruto returns to the middle of the room and everyone looks at him wide-eyed as he turns around to leave, but stops as a shadow clone appears holding a video camera. Naruto looks at the clone before saying, did you record the whole meeting? The clone nods and gives him the video camera. Good, you can dispel now. The clone does so, and Naruto looks to see everyone staring at him. What? Anko wanted me to record me sticking it to the civilian council so we could watch it later. Catch you later. I got date with Anko to watch the most handsome man alive stick it to some arrogant dumbasses, he says as he waves the videotape and disappears in a shunshin. Everyone just stands there for a second before Shibi says balls of steel indeed, which causes everyone to nod their heads until Doromaru says no, it's huge balls of titanium, isn't that right Tsume, which causes her to blush as everyone looks at her while all the men are thinking that boy is a damn hero to men everywhere. Naruto returns to the tower to find Anko sitting on the couch in front of the TV, watching some show. He walks in and takes his boots off as Anko notices him. So where you been for so long? She says coyly. Naruto just holds up the videotape. Had to get a movie for us, it's called The Most Handsome Man Alive, sticks it to arrogant civilians want to watch. Anko smiles sadistically. You bet you hot ass I do. Now get over here, put that movie in, and sit the hell down. I want to lay on my favorite pillow as we watch it. Naruto smiles. As you wish my Hebe queen. Naruto puts the movie in before laying down on the couch, with Anko laying on his chest as they begin to watch the home movie. It had 2 months since Naruto's meeting with the council, and a lot had not only happened, but also changed the way many things were done in the village. First there was the reveal of Naruto's heritage, and what really happened the night the Kyuubi attacked, which resulted in a variety of things. Many were shocked that Naruto was the son of the Yondaime Hokage and the Red Death. Of course, there were some people who denied this, saying things like there is no way that thing is the son of Yondaime Sama. However, after the Hokage presented Naruto's birth certificate, they promptly shut up. The younger generations, including Naruto's age group, were shocked as well. But when they thought about it and compared what Naruto looked like to that of the Yondaime, they knew it was the truth, and after learning that he had the Kyuubi, all of them minus Sakura and Sasuke saw him as the hero he was. Sakura didn't care who his parents were, she caused in her mind there was no one better than her Sasuke-kun, and I swear I just died a little writing that, while Sasuke seethed in anger, thinking that Dobe has so much power, it should be mine so I can kill Itachi. Only an Uchiha deserves all that power and use it properly, for we are the elite, and I have to stop killing myself writing stuff like this. After his heritage was revealed, the civilian council came up and revealed all the ways they made Naruto's life hell, which appalled not only the younger generation, but the adults that were either neutral to him or sympathetic to him. The Hokage then told everyone how Naruto legally owns over 70% of the village due to the various businesses and housing projects that his parents and Mito Uzumaki established. This resulted in everyone everyone's nearly popping out of their heads and their jaws hitting the ground. After everyone got over their shock, Naruto stepped forward and looked over the villagers. Naruto smiled and waved before speaking, "As you have just been told, I am the son of the Yondaime Hokage Minato Namikaze and his wife Kushina Uzumaki, that I have the Kyuubi sealed within me, and that I own more than 70% of Konoha, more than even the Fire Lord himself owns. All of this true," he finishes with a creepy smile. Think Jin Ichimaru from Bleach's smile. This causes those who made his life miserable to visibly shiver in fear. Naruto then continues, "Now I'm sure some of are probably thinking, we are so screwed because of how we treated him. Well, you're wrong. You're not screwed, because I'm not going to stoop to your level," he finishes with a smile. The people who made his life miserable relax at hearing this, thinking he won't do anything. However, what he says next instantly proves them wrong. However, that doesn't mean there won't be some changes. First, starting tomorrow, I will be going to every store and housing complex I own and do an inspection. If I don't find things satisfactory, then there will be consequences. The stores that kicked me out, refused me service or overcharged me, will be seeing major changes in staff and donating substantial sum of money to various charities, the hospital, and the orphanage. This shocks everyone. Naruto continues, "I will also be working with Hokage-sama to not only improve the hospital and orphanages, I will also be funding the construction of a brand new hospital, 2 orphanages, and a new academy that will center around teaching those who don't want to be shinobi but still learn things like cooking, carpentry, and blacksmithing, among other things. I will also be corresponding with the Fire Daimyo on ways to further increase prosperity in the village," he finishes, shocking everyone again. Naruto then continues, "Now just because I am the son of the Yondaime and own the majority of the village does not mean I want to be treated like royalty and have everyone kissing my ass like spoiled ungrateful duck ass-headed breeding emoji Michiha," which causes a lot of people to snicker and a few to laugh out loud before Sasuke suddenly yells, "How dare you do by a Minichiha, the elite of this village and deserve to be treated as such." Naruto just ignores him before using his pinky to clean his ear and respond loud enough for everyone to hear him, "Did you say something? All I heard was quacking," which causes people to laugh, Sasuke to storm off furiously, Sakura to follow him, Kakashi to smile proudly at passing on the ways of the hip cool attitude to Naruto, and Mido Guy to yell, "Curse you and your hip cool attitude," and infecting Naruto with it, causing everyone to sweat drop before leaving. The next day, the Hokage disbanded the civilian council and picked 3 people to represent the various civilian-run things. Tuchi Ichiraku was chosen to represent the various restaurants in the village, the other 2 chosen represented the various other stores and public areas. Like he said he would the day before, Naruto went around to the various stores and housing complexes to inspect them, which ended up in quite a few people either being fired or sent to jail for embezzlement. He also hired large amounts of construction workers to begin building the new hospital, orphanages, and academy. And after seeding the state that the orphanage he used to live was in, he also had them renovated and sent a message to the Fire Daimyo regarding various way to increases the village's prosperity. For the next 2 months, dozens of Naruto's clones were seen around the village, either supervising the construction renovation of the academy, hospital and orphanages, while the original trained and went on missions around the village with his team during the day, while Lacane trained him in his mindscape at night, and occasionally running from hordes of fangirls, all wanting to date him, marry him, have his babies, or just plain strap him down and ride his meat pole. After there was an incident at the public bathhouse that ended up with him accidentally walking into the women's side, wearing just a towel before freezing upon seeing the many women bathing, many of whom were kunoichi relaxing on their day off or after a mission, giving them a perfect view of his well-muscled body and 6-pack abs. Before a sudden gust of wind blew his towel away, revealing his not-so-little friend before he had to run for his life, with a pack of half-naked women chasing after him, all wanting to ride his third leg, as it would be later known when rumors of his size spread later that day. Naruto also moved into his parents' compound with Anko and Hinata, which was an emotional experience when he saw all the pictures of them together and the room that would have been his nursery if they hadn't died the night he was born, and after crying as Anko and Hinata just stood there holding, and Akane whispered soothing words to him through the mental link, he was able to overcome it. About a week after moving into his parents' house, Naruto had a party to celebrate his heritage being revealed and moving into his parents' house, where he invited the Hokage and his grandson Konohamaru, who had taken it up to calling him boss after Naruto knocked some sense into him. Literally, he actually punched on the top of his head when they first met. The clan heads and their children, along with their senseis Anko-chan, Hinata-chan, and Iruka-sensei. The party nearly lasted all night. Tsume, after having won too many drinks, told Naruto that she had chosen him as her alpha and would like to be with him, shocking everyone and confusing Naruto. The Hokage then explained it was an Inyazuka clan tradition that equates to marriage, shocking Naruto, who just turned to Anko and Hinata for help, only for them to smile and nod their heads, shocking him even further. After Naruto had recovered from his shock state he turned to Tsume and told her he would be honored, but he would have to go on some dates first to get to know each other better and see where things go from there. Tsume simply smiled before glumping Naruto and nuzzling his fast into her ample bosom. As the party ended people started leaving in various states of drunkenness, either alone or with some. However, one pair who left together that shocked everyone was Iruka and Kurenai. It would later be found out that after leaving together and waking up naked in bed together the next morning, they would end up becoming a couple within the next 2 weeks. We now find teammate on a mission, hiding in the bushes stalking their target when a voice sounds in their headsets. Snake, here is everyone in position, sound off before each of them respond. Dino here in position, Naruto says from his bush. Swarm here ready to begin, Shino Stokely responds from his spot. Moon Eyes here in position, Hinata answers from her position. Snake Haka Anko keys her headset, Roger that does target mock the description, brown hair with a pink bow in it. Naruto keys his headset, Roger that's Snake. But I have an idea, permission implemented, permission granted. Dino, Swarm, Moon Eyes, get ready in case target makes a break for it, Roger they both respond at once. Naruto reaches, activates one of the storage seals inside his trench coat and out pops a scroll. He then opens the scroll before channeling some chakra into it and out pops a large salmon. He grabs the fish before returning the scroll to the storage seal in his trench coat. He then walks out of the bush he was hiding in with the fish in his hand and walks towards the target. The cat with brown hair and a pink bow in it. However, this wasn't any cat, it was the cat that belonged to Lady Shimi, the wife of the fire daimyo. The cat's name was Tora and tended to run away from home 2 to 3 times a week and was insanely difficult to catch even for the village's Anbu, and due to this had been nicknamed the demon cat. Tora looks at Naruto as he walks over with a big juicy fish in his hand, is torn between running and staying to hopefully get the fish, but decides to stay and see how things play out. Naruto stops walking and looks at Tora before kneeling down and holding the fish out towards Tora. Hey there Tora, how about you come with me back to the Hokage Tower? I will give you this fish. Tora seems hesitant, but ends up walking over Naruto and eating the fish before hopping into his arms and snuggling into his chest and purrs as he scratches her behind the ears. Anko, Hinata, and Shino look at him with wide eyes, or in Shino's case raised eyebrows, as he simply holds Tora the demon cat in his arms and pets her as she purrs before snapping out of their stupor and heading off to the Hokage Tower, meeting Kurenai on the way. They reach the Hokage's office and know on the door before hearing come in. The 5 of them enter to see the Sandame sitting behind his desk with Iruka sitting off to the side organizing some mission reports. Anko steps up, teammate reporting capture Tora, mission success. Hokage-sama. The Hokage looks over and sees Tora snuggling into Naruto's chest and chuckles, very good. And in only 30 minutes, a new record. He looks over to Iruka. Iruka, please have Lady Shimi come in now. Iruka nods and keys the intercom before the doors open and in walks a middle-aged woman wearing regal robes before seeing Tora and rushing over to Naruto, who hands Tora to her before she begins squeezing the poor cat into her chest. Oh Tora dear, mommy was so worried about you, she says to the struggling cat. Naruto sees this and speaks up, excuse me Lady Shimi, but you're hurting Tora, holding her like that, as he proceeds to show how to hold Tora correctly and how to pet her before she begins purring in Lady Shimi's arms. Lady Shimi looks at Naruto before smiling, thank you Naruto-kun once again have helped me. Naruto just gives a grandiose bow before holding her hand and planting a kiss on her knuckles, causing everyone's eyes to widen and their jaws to hit the floor before he looks up at Lady Shimi and smiles. It was nothing milady. I was only doing what any gentleman would. Lady Shimi blushes a little before looking over at Anko and Hinata and back to Naruto. Are these girls the ones you speak of so often, Naruto-kun, causing their eyes to widen before Naruto nods, yes Lady Shimi, they are Anko Midarashi and Hinata Hyuga, 2 of my fiancés. Lady Shimi smiles before turning to Anko and Hinata, you girls and the rest of his fiancés are the luckiest women on earth getting to be with Naruto-kun. He truly is one of a kind, and if I wasn't already happily married to my husband, then I would ask him to marry me, she said, shocking everyone further before continuing, also you have to ask him to give you a massage, they are the best there is, and the way he works his hands will make you melt, causing the Hokage and Iruka to get blown back by nosebleeds and Anko, Hinata, and Kurenai to blush, picturing Naruto just rubs the back of his neck and chuckles. Lady Shimi, I don't think saying that out loud in front of everyone is a good idea, it might cause a misunderstanding. Lady Shimi just giggles and covers her mouth with her sleeve. I have no idea what you mean Naruto-kun. I hope you come and visit soon. My husband misses talking and playing chess with you. Naruto smile, of course Lady Shimi, please inform Idio Dono that I look forward to meeting with him again and if he is available would be able to do so during the month-long break in the Chunin exams. Lady Shimi smiles one last time before bidding them good day and leaving. As the doors close, Naruto turns to see everyone staring at him. Naruto raises an eyebrow and asks what? They face vault before asking what that was all about. Naruto chuckles, well, when I went to see the fire daimyo about ways to increase the village's prosperity, I ended up taking a walk during one of the breaks during the meeting. When I noticed Lady Shimi standing on a balcony watching the clouds while leaning on the railing when it breaks and she begins to fall, I saved her and earning the thanks of the Fire Lord, shocking everyone with what he just said. Naruto notices the shocked look on their faces and chuckles inwardly. After the meeting, we began leisurely chatting and playing chess. As Lady Shimei walked in, I noticed her limping and cradling her arm like she hurt her shoulder and asked what was wrong, and she said that she has been feeling stiff since the fall. I then asked the Fire Daimyo if I can see what is wrong with her, to which he nods. Before I have her lay down the couch, I notice she has a lot of tension built up in her shoulders and legs and inform the Fire Daimyo, who asks what can be done. I tell him that with his permission, I will have to give her a massage. He nods, and I begin to work out the tension. Everyone's jaws nearly break through the floor, they drop so hard. Naruto just smiles. In the end I relieve her of the tension in her body before she grabs the Fire Daimyo and rushes off to their bedroom for the next 2 hours, and when they return, she has a satisfied smile on her face and is glowing, while the Fire Daimyo looks exhausted and asks me to teach him how to give massages like that. Everyone stands there speechless until Iruka, the Sandaime, and the 2 male hidden Anbu bow down at his feet and beg him to teach them his ways of manliness, while the 2 female hidden Anbu beg him to give them massages while Kurenai is just standing there with a glazed look in her eyes. Anko and Hinata have a look in their eyes that says, "You better give us massages when we get home tonight or else," causing him to chuckle. After a good 30 minutes everyone is back to normal, and the Sandaime clears his throat. Naruto, you never cease to amaze. Now how about another mission? Teammate nods and Naruto says, hey Jai, can we have a C rank mission please? The Hokage thinks for a minute. Kurenai, Anko, what do you think, are they ready for a C rank? They both nod before Anko says, definitely. Naruto-kun could easily hand an A rank by himself, while both Hinata and Shino could probably handle a high C to low B rank mission. Add in Kurenai and myself, and we can easily handle up to a mid A rank. The Sandaime nods. Okay, you mission is to escort a bridge builder home to Nami no Kuni and guard him as he finishes the bridge he is building. Their teammate nods as the Hokage turns to Iruka, please enter Tazuna-san, and Naruto's eyes widen at hearing this. Before the door opens and in walks a man with grey hair that appears to be in his mid-40s to early 50s, drinking from a jug of sake. As he looks over the people before he says, I hire ninja, and get this is what I get: 2 women that look they can be models, a kid with glasses that looks like he might be sick, a girl who appears to be blind, and a blonde who he stops when his eyes land on Naruto before smiling. Well, I'll be damned, Naruto, aren't you a sight for these old eyes? Naruto just chuckles. It's good to see you again Tazuna, you old drunk, shocking everyone as it appears Naruto and Tazuna know each other. Silence. The room was in complete silence after hearing that Naruto and Tazuna knew each other. After about 5 minutes of awkward silence, the Hokage finally asked the question of everyone's mind minus Naruto and Tazuna. Naruto, how is it that you and Tazuna know each other? Naruto just rubs the back of his head before chuckling sheepishly. Well Jai, it's actually a pretty funny story. You see, about 4 years ago I kinda may have left the village one night to train in some of the more noticeable techniques of my bloodline, while Anko-chan was on that month-long mission that required a specific set of skills. After a few seconds of letting what Naruto just said sink in, everyone minus Tazuna yelled at the same time, you did what? Which was heard all throughout the village. After regaining his recovering from nearly going deaf due to how loud everyone yelled, Naruto just chuckled. Like I said, I left the village to train in the more noticeable techniques of my bloodline. While training I noticed Tazuna here getting harassed by some bandits and went to help him. After dealing with the bandits he thanked me before I offered to escort him back to his house in order to make sure it didn't happen again, and after escorting him home and meeting his family, I left and returned to the village. Once he was done the Hokage merely rubbed the bridge of his nose and muttered, I'm really too old for this kind of shit. He then turned to Naruto and looked at him seriously. Naruto, please don't ever pull a stunt like that again, and besides, how did you even leave the village? All the gates have guards watching them. Naruto chuckles, well, I may have just slipped right by the gate guard since they were sleeping. I think it was Izumo and Katetsu, he says before he notices a tick mark appear on the Hokage's forehead. Before he turns to Iruka, please remind me to assign Izumo and Katetsu to clean the Akimichi sewer system for the next month. Please. Everyone who knew what that specific mission was shuddered as their faces turned green. He then turns back to teammate. Okay teammate, you have your mission dismissed. Teammate nodded before leaving the tower with Tazuna. Once outside, Kurenai turns to teammate. Okay, meet at the southern gate in 30 minutes. Pack for a month-long mission. Anko and the rest of the team nod before going to pack. 30 minutes later, teammate gather at the southern gate with Tazuna before setting out towards Nami no Kuni, and I think that's what it's called. As they were walking, Naruto notices Tazuna drinking from his jug of sake and decides to speak up. Hey Tazuna, please refrain from drinking until we get to your house. If you do, I will give you a few bottles of this. He then pulls out a large bottle of sake from one of the storage seals within his trench coat. Tazuna's eyes nearly jump out of his head when he sees what Naruto is holding before stuttering out, is that what I think it is? Naruto smirks before nodding his head. Yep, it's Kitsune's Ambrosia brand sake. After he says this, everyone stops walking and looks at him, while Anko and Kurenai look at the bottle, drooling. Hinata then asks the question on everyone's minds, Naruto-kun, how did you get that it's the rarest and most expensive sake in the entire elemental nations? Naruto just chuckles, well Hinata-chan, that simple, I'm the one who invented and makes it. I thought it would be pretty obvious considering it's named Kitsune's Ambrosia. After all, this little piece of info made everyone's jaws drop so fast they made a small crater in the ground. Anko was the first one to recover before giving Naruto a sadistic smile, oh Naruto-kun, have you been holding out on me? I hope not, because if you have I will have to punish you, she says, causing Naruto to gulp. Well Anko-chan, I was planning on surprising you with a year's supply for your birthday, along with all you can eat Naruto's special dango, he says, hoping to calm his angry fiancé. At hearing what Naruto had just said, Anko lets out a very out of character squeal and glumps Naruto. Oh Naruto-kun, you're the greatest fiancé there is, I might just have to give you a reward later. Anko then looks over at Hinata before winking at her. Of course Hinata-chan will be joining us too, after all, she is your fiancé too, which causes Naruto to blush slightly and Hinata blush atomically. She knows to adjust the collar of his coat so it hides more of his face. Kurenai blushes slightly, picturing what that might look like before quickly shoving said thoughts away, thinking, I shouldn't be thinking such things, I'm not a pervert, let alone a closet pervert, and oh poor Kurenai, just keep telling yourself that Q evil chuckle Iruka, you lucky bastard. While all this was happening, Tazuna stood there trying to process what he had just heard before asking Naruto, what did she mean by her and Hinata being your fiancés? Naruto chuckles, well, due to be the last male of 2 clans and having a never before seen bloodline, I have to take multiple wives, however that doesn't mean I will just marry anyone, I will only marry someone if both of us truly love each other. When Naruto had finished, Tazuna was kneeling on the ground drawing circles in the dirt, mumbling something along the lines of damn lucky bastard, before Shino patted his shoulder and just nodded before they continued on their way. After walking for a while, Naruto notices a strange puddle in the middle of the road and looks to Anko and Kurenai, who nod. As they pass the puddle, it erupts. 2 people jump out wearing breathing mask, grey cloaks and pants, and clawed gauntlets on their hands connected by a chain. Before running and wrapping the chain around Kurenai and Anko to down, they say as they pull the chain, ripping Kurenai and Anko to shreds. Before looking to Naruto, who has a pair of kunai drawn, Shino, who is already releasing some of his bugs, and Hinata, who is in her clan's Taijutsu stance with her Byakugan active 4 to go, they say before charging the group. Naruto turns to Hinata and Shino. Hinata, Shino, defensive positions around Tazuna, I will deal with them. Hinata and Shino, and take up defensive positions around Tazuna. As Naruto turns back to the 2 ninja in front of him, now where were we? Oh, we were at the point where I proceed to kick your asses before taking those fancy gauntlets of yours and shoving them up your asses, he says with a smirk before charging at them. The 2 enemy ninja are furious at what this little brat just said and charge in wildly, intending on ripping him to shreds before they feel an intense pain in their legs in the jaws of 2 reptile-like creatures whose heads are sticking out the ground before they trip, and said creatures burst from the ground, landing on the 2 ninjas' backs and sinking their claws and pinning them to the ground. Naruto just looks at them before smirking and saying, you can come out now Anko-chan, Kurenai-sensei, as Anko and Kurenai appear from their hiding spot in the trees, and Anko says, geez Naruto-kun, it's no fun hiding from you anymore, you're too good at finding me. Naruto just chuckles, well I have had lots of practice of the years Anko-chan, before he turns to the 2 ninjas currently pinned under his raptor clones, as he had taken to calling them now. What are the demon brothers of the hidden mist village doing way outer, and considering that you are missing mins, it can't be anything good. The now named demon brothers look up at Naruto before saying, we were hired to kill the bridge builder, but we weren't told he had hired ninjas from Konoha. Naruto just smiles, well, that's bad news for you, cause you see Tazuna just so happens to be a friend of mine, and one of the things I can't stand the most is when people try to hurt my friends, so give me one good reason why I shouldn't just feed you to my friends that are keeping you pinned right now, he says with a sadistic smile which causes the demon brothers to gulp. Well, you could kill us, or you could send us back to village where we could be interrogated and possibly have info that could benefit Konoha, they say, trying to save their asses. However, Naruto just smiles, well I could do that, but I think I will put it to a vote, and turns to the rest of the group, so who thinks should send them back to Konoha? Shino raises his hand. Naruto notices this and nods, okay now who thinks I should just kill them? At this, the rest of the group raises their hands and Naruto smirks before turning back to the 2 demon brothers who are shaking in fear. Well, it seems we have reached a decision. He then looks at the 2 raptor clones and says, you know what to do, just make it quick and painless, they deserve at least that. The raptor clones nod before lowering their jaws, the demon brothers' necks. Naruto then turns to the rest of the team and Tazuna, well, now that that's taken care of, let's be on our way, and Tazuna can tell us why he lied about the mission, which causes Tazuna to gulp. As they resume their journey to Wave, Tazuna explains to the groups how Wave is currently being ruled by a tyrant named Gato, and how he came in 6 months ago, took over Wave, and proceeded to bleed it dry economically with a naval blockade, while killing anyone who opposed him. Tazuna then went on to explain how he is building a bridge to connect Wave to Hai no Kuni, so that they could open trade with them, and without having to worry about Gato's blockade. As Naruto heard all this, he got madder and madder before finally saying to Tazuna, "I swear that by the time you finish the bridge and we leave, Gato will be dead by my hands. I'm going to show that little sack of shit what happens when you mess with my friends." Tazuna just looks at Naruto before a few tears come to his eyes. "Thank you, Naruto." They then hitch a ride on a small boat owned by one of Tazuna's friends before reaching a lake. The bushes rustle and out jumps a white rabbit which raises red flags in Anko and Kurenai's minds, while Naruto just thinks that rabbit looks familiar. I wonder, however, before he can think on it further, he hears Kurenai and Anko yell "get down," and he does as a large Zanbatsu goes sailing over them before getting stuck in a tree, and a tall shirtless man with bandages around his mouth, wearing black and white camouflage pants and spiky black hair stands on its hilt. The man looks over the group and chuckles, "Well, if Konoha's Yunjutsu Mistress Kurenai Yuhi, Snake Mistress Anko Midarashi, and Aburam, a Hyuga, and he says before stopping when he says Naruto can laughs out loud, "Well, I'll be damned, is that you Gaki? It sure has been a while, and you seem to have grown a bit since I last saw you." Everyone turns to look at Naruto, who just rubs the back of his neck sheepishly and chuckles, "I thought we would probably run into you after we ran into the demon brothers. It's been a while, hasn't it, Zabuza?" he says, shocking them further. Zabuza just laughs again, "That it has, Gaki, that it has." Silence once again. There was complete silence, like back in the Hokage's office after teammate just found out that Naruto knew Zabuza for a whole 5 minutes. No one said a word until Anko decided to voice what was on the mind of everyone in teammate minus Naruto. "Naruto-kun, would you mind telling us how you know Zabuza Mamachi?" she says in a sickly sweet voice that promised pain if Naruto didn't answer. Naruto just rubbed the back of his neck sheepishly. "Well, you know how I said I saved Tazuna and then left to return to the village." Teammate nods. "Well, I may have run into Zabuza here being cornered by some hunter nin from Kiri and saved him," he said, causing everyone to sweat drop. Everyone just looks at him like he has grown a second head before Kurenai just face palms and says, "Naruto, we are going to have to tell the Hokage about your actions when we get back to the village." Naruto just nods and turns back to Zabuza. "So Zabuza, I take it that Gato hired you to kill Tazuna?" Zabuza just nods. Naruto just sighs. "That's what I thought. You do know that Gato will no doubt betray you and refuse to pay you if you kill Tazuna, right?" Zabuza nods his head. "Yeah, I got that feeling from him when he hired me. He doesn't seem like the kind of person to pay people when they work for him, so what do you want to do?" Natuto thinks for a minute. "Is Haku around here somewhere?" Zabuza nods. "Well, have her come on out, there is no use in her hiding anyway." Zabuza just gives a signal and a young woman wearing a blue battle dress and a Kiri hunter nin mask appears next to him. The now named Haku removes her mask revealing a beautiful young woman. "Hello, Naruto. It's been a long time," causing Naruto to smile. "But it has, Haku," he says before turning to Zabuza. "So Zabuza, how about this, you and I spark in jutsu only before you go back to Gato and tell him you failed, then in 1 week we meet at the Tazuna's bridge and fight until Gato shows up with a group of mercenaries, which he probably will, and reveal his betrayal of you, in which we take care of him before going to his mansion and stealing all his money." After hearing this, everyone's eyes are wide. Zabuza laughs. "You got a deal, Gaki, let's see your skills." He then grabs Kuruchikobo and gets into a stance, however his jaw hits the ground when he sees the sword Naruto is holding. In his hand is a 6-foot-long Nadachi with a black blade and handle. Zabuza just looks at the sword before managing to say, "Is that the sword I think it is?" Naruto just chuckles. "If you think this sword is Masamune, then you would be correct. The same sword that once belonged to the Red Death of Konoha, Kushina Uzumaki, who just so happens to be my mother," he says with a sadistic smile. Zabuza just gulps and sums up the situation in just 2 words, "Well shit," before he charges, swinging his blade, which Naruto easily blocks before pushing him back and making him off balance. Naruto takes advantage of this, charging forward and swinging Masamune diagonally, making a shallow gash on Zabuza's chest before jumping back to avoid a slash aimed at his arm. Naruto chuckles. "Looks like I got first blood." Zabuza causing Zabuza to laugh. "Impressive, Gaki. Not many have been able to draw first blood on me," he says before charging back at Naruto, who meets him halfway and locks blades with him. Meanwhile, teammate watches on in amazement as Naruto clashes with Zabuza and his winning. Kurenai turns towards Anko and asks Anko, "Just how strong is Naruto?" Cause this for a genin, let alone a 13-year-old boy, to be able to fight someone like Zabuza Mamachi is just insane. Anko just chuckles at Kurenai's question. "Kurenai, you don't know the half of it." Naruto is toying with Zabuza. "In all the years we trained together, other than the first few months, I have never seen him go all out, but if I had to guess, he mostly likely stronger than the Sandaime was during his prime and the Yondaime during the Third Shinobi War combined," she says, causing Kurenai's jaw to drop. Kurenai just shakes her head. Surely you're exaggerating, Anko. I mean yeah, Naruto must be strong, but stronger than both the Sandame and Yandame. That just doesn't seem possible, she says, hoping that she is right. Anko just shakes her head. I wish I was Kurenai, but considering that Naruto can make thousands of shadow clones and has been using them to train every day for the past 8 years, and that's not including the training the Kyuubi has been giving him for the past 8 years, makes it hard to believe otherwise. I will say this though, may Kami have mercy on the person who makes him go all out, cause I'm sure he won't, she says, shocking Kurenai even more, while scaring her a little at the thought of Naruto going full out after hearing this. Anko and Kurenai turn back to see Zabuza panting with numerous shallow cuts all over his body and Naruto not even winded and uninjured. Naruto looks at Zabuza. Hey Zabuza, how about one more attack and we call it quits for now? Zabuza just nods his head before charging at Naruto, who just slips into a stance before whispering Gatling stab and stabbing his sword back and forth in a rapid fashion. Think Luffy's Gum Gum Gatling from One Piece, but with a sword, and you get the picture, while making sure to avoid all of Zabuza's vital points. Zabuza falls to the ground with shallow stab wounds covering his body and laughs. Damn Gaki, that was one hell of an attack, good thing you weren't trying to kill me, or I would be dead. Naruto chuckles. Yeah, I have been working on it for some time now and just finished it about a week ago. This is actually the first time I have used it in a fight. Zabuza laughs. Gaki, you keep up the way you are and you're going to be the best swordsman in the elemental nations before you're 20 at this rate, which causes Naruto to chuckle. Haku then walks over and picks Zabuza up. We will see you in a week, Naruto, before leaving in a water shushin. Naruto then seals Masamune in the storage seal on his wrists and looks at teammate, who just stand there stupefied by his skills, causing him to chuckle. Well, now with that out of the way, how about we go to your house, Tazuna? I'm kind of hungry and Tsunami's food is delicious, he says, snapping everyone out of their states before they continue on to Tazuna's house. After walking for about 30 minutes they reach Tazuna's house and he knocks on the door before it opens, revealing a beautiful woman in her mid-20s with a hergless body and D-cup, wearing a blue kimono that tightly hugs her curves, opens the door. Hello, who's there? She then notices Tazuna. Otu-san, you're home safe, she says before hugging him. Tazuna chuckles. Yep, and it's all thanks to these super ninja from Konoha, he says, gesturing to teammate who wave. Tsunami bows before she spots one person in particular and hugs him. Naruto-kun, it's great to see you. She then takes in his appearance and blushes slightly, and you have grown so much. Naruto chuckles. It's good to see you again, Tsunami. You haven't aged a day in the past 4 years and are still as beautiful as the day I met you, he says. Tsunami blushes. Oh, where are my manners? Everyone please come in, dinner will be ready shortly. Teammate enters the house and sits down and relaxes as Tsunami goes back into the kitchen and Naruto going to help her. Anko then turns to Tazuna. How does Tsunami know Naruto? I mean yeah, he stayed with you guys for a few days, but they seem too close for that, she says with a raised eyebrow. Tazuna takes a swig of the Kitsune's ambrosia sake that Naruto had given him when they entered the house before turning serious. A few days before Naruto left, Tsunami was out in the woods when a couple of bandits showed up and tried to rape her. However, Naruto was nearby and heard Tsunami yelling and rushed to save her and knocked out the bandits before they could rape her and brought her back home, where he told me what happened and told me he would be back. Everyone had wide eyes as Tazuna told them the story behind Naruto and Tsunami being so close. As Tazuna continued the story, for the next 12 hours Naruto was gone and all we heard were the screams of the bandits. When he came back I asked what happened to the bandits. He simply said, they won't be hurting anyone ever again. I set my compies on them. I asked what he meant by that and he told me about some of his bloodline and showed me what a compy was, and I asked what's so bad about that. He then said, imagine a pack of them slowly tearing you apart tiny bite by tiny bite and eating you alive. Everyone pales and shudders. Azuna continues, yeah, I had the same reaction. He then asked me to keep all of this from Tsunami, which I agreed. I then asked him why he killed them in such a brutal way and he said, there are a few things I have zero tolerance for and attempted rape is one of those things, and anyone who dares to try such a thing will die the same way, especially if they try it to someone as kind and caring as Tsunami. He then walked upstairs to make sure Tsunami was okay, and when I went to check up on her later she was asleep in his arms and he said that she had cried herself to sleep. A few days later, after making sure Tsunami was alright, Naruto left and returned to Konoha. And about a few months after that I realized that Tsunami had developed a crush on Naruto. Teammate was shocked that there was such deep reason behind the relationship between Naruto and Tsunami. Anko and Hinata looked at each other, sharing a look that said, we know what we must do, before nodding. Tsunami and Naruto then walked out of the kitchen with plates of food for everyone and sat at the table when the door opened and in walked a 8-year-old boy wearing overalls and a hat. Tsunami looked up. Inari, you're just in time for dinner and your grandfather is home. The no-named Inari looks up and sees Tazuna and runs over and gives him a hug. Welcome home, Jai. I'm glad you okay. Tazuna ruffles the boy's hair. I missed you, Inari, and I got home safely thanks to these super awesome ninja I hired. Inari looks over and sees teammate before scoffing until he says Naruto and goes wide-eyed. Naruto, Nai, is that you? Naruto smiles before nodding. Yep, I'm back little bro and here to help Wave get rid of its midget problem, if you know what I mean, causing Tazuna and teammate to laugh and Tsunami to giggle. Inari runs over and hugs Naruto before crying, and Naruto just hugs him back, letting him let it all out before Inari falls asleep in his arms, and Naruto creates a shadow clone to take Inari upstairs and tuck him into bed before turning to Tazuna, and a serious look enters his eyes. What happened to Inari while I was gone? Tazuna. When I left he was a happy young boy full of sunshine, now he seems broken inside. Tazuna just sighs and tells Naruto what happened with Kaiza, how Inari saw him as a hero, how Kaiza stood up to Geto, how Geto had him publicly executed, and Inari saw the whole thing, and by the end the look in Naruto's eyes turned from serious to downright murderous, and he said to Tazuna, I'm not leaving Wave until I rip Geto limb from limb before ripping him in half. Nobody, and I mean nobody, hurts my little bro, and gets away with it before he gets up and walks outside, leaving everyone to their thoughts before Anko gets up and follows him. Once outside, Naruto begins destroying the forest until he senses Anko near him and sighs, I should have come back sooner, if I did then Inari wouldn't have had to go through something like that. Anko just wraps her arms around him and hugs him from behind. There was no way you could have known something like that would happen, Naruto, so you have no reason to blame yourself. What's important is that you're here now, and that's what matters, because by killing Geto, you can prove to him that there are still heroes in this world, she says as she kisses the top of his head. Naruto turns around and hugs Anko back. Thank you Anko-chan, you always know what to say to cheer me up, he says before he gives her a quick kiss on the lips. Now let's go back, everyone is probably worried about us, he says before he and Anko head back to the house. When they reach the house, Naruto lets everyone know he is feeling better before heading upstairs to go to sleep, and Anko looks to Hinata before they nod their heads and look at Tsunami. Tsunami-san, can Hinata and I have a word with you? Tsunami nods her head before following Anko and Hinata outside to sit on the porch. The next day, Naruto wakes and head downstairs to help Tsunami make breakfast and notices everyone besides her is out of the house. He pays it no mind and goes to help Tsunami. Good morning Tsunami, would you like some help with the dishes? Tsunami turns around to see Naruto and blushes slightly. Good morning Naruto-kun, and yes, that would be nice, she says. Naruto helps her make breakfast. Tsunami then sets down the dish she was drying and turning to Naruto, Naruto-kun, there is something I need to tell you. Naruto stops washing the dish he had in his hands, dries his hands and turns to Tsunami. What is it Tsunami? You can tell me anything. Tsunami takes a deep breath to calm herself. Naruto-kun, 4 years ago you saved me from those men, and for that I will be forever grateful to you, and a few months I realized I had a slight crush on you, however I thought it was nothing more than a case of hero worship and tries to forget about it. However, as time went on the crush just got stronger and it felt like a part of my heart was missing. However, then you came back and I felt like the missing piece of my heart had returned and I realized that I love you, she said, shocking Naruto. Naruto just looked at Tsunami. Tsunami, I won't lie, you really surprised me with what you just said, and your confession was absolutely beautiful, and you are a beautiful woman that any man would be lucky to be in a relationship with you, but there is something you need to know about me that might change the way you feel about me, he says. Naruto was about to continue, but Tsunami cuts him off. I already know about you being the container of the Kyuubi and having to take multiple wives, Naruto, and I don't care that you hold the Kyuubi. Even if you were the Kyuubi itself, that wouldn't change the way I feel about you, and about you having to take multiple wives, it doesn't bother me at all, because I am positive that if anyone would be able to treat each wife with respect and treating each wife equally, it would be you. That's how big your heart is and how much love you hold within it, she says, shocking Naruto. Naruto just processes everything she just said before realizing, but how do you know about the Kyuubi and me having to take multiple wives? The only way you would know that is if he and realizes it was Anko and Hinata, wasn't it? They realized your feelings for me and wanted to make sure they were genuine, didn't they? Tsunami just nods. Yes, last night they confronted me about my feelings for you, and after I told them, they told me about you being the container of the Kyuubi and having to take multiple wives due to being the last of your clans. I said I didn't care and that as long as you treated each of your wives equally, I am fine with sharing. They then said that you currently have 4 fiancés including themselves and that I had their blessing to be with you if you accepted my feelings. Naruto just smiles. I won't lie Tsunami, I am attracted to you. Not only are you beautiful on the outside, but you're also beautiful on the inside. You are caring, kind-hearted, gentle, and whenever you smile, it radiates a loving warmth that only someone who is not only pure of heart but also pure of soul can radiate. And I would not only love to, but also be honored to have you as one of my fiancés and future wives, while having Inari as a son in the future. A tear of joy begin to form in the corners of Tsunami's eyes with each word Naruto says and trail down her cheeks before Naruto reaches up and wipes them away and cups her cheek within smiling. Naruto then leans in and kisses her on the lips, lovingly causing her to melt into the kiss and wrap her arms around his neck, pulling him closer to her. They stay this way just basking in each other's presence until the need for air and they break the kiss. Naruto stares into Tsunami's eyes lovingly and she stares back before he hugs her to his chest, feeling her warmth against him as she snuggles deeper into his chest taking in his scent. Naruto just holds her tighter. Tsunami, let's wait till after Gato is taken care of to tell Tazuna and Inari about us, it would make for a nice surprise. Tsunami just nods. Also, when this is taken care of I would like for you and Inari for come live with my in Konoha. I have more than enough room in my house and would feel a lot better knowing my fiancé, future wife and future stepson would are safe and nearby. Your father can come too if he wants. Tsunami just stands there shocked before smiling and nodding. Of course Naruto-kun, I would love to, and Inari would love to live with his future father, and 3 are probably plenty of kids for him to make friends with. Naruto smiles before kissing her on the lips again. I look forward to our beautiful future together as a family, my loving Nami-chan, he says looking into her eyes. Tsunami smiles before saying as do I, my loving and future husband Naruto-kun, and giving him a quick peck on the lips before they go back to cleaning dishes. Later in the day the rest of teammate and Tazuna return home from working on the bridge to find Tsunami smiling and humming a happy tune as Naruto helps her get dinner ready, which confuses most of the team except for Anko and Hinata, who realize that she must have told Naruto about her feelings for him and he returning them, which causes them to smile. The week passes and the day arrives for teammate to meet Zabuza on the bridge and they head out to meet with Zabuza and wait for Gato to arrive, but not before Naruto makes a dozen shadow clones to watch over Tsunami and Inari. When they get to the bridge they find Zabuza and Haku waiting for them. Zabuza smirks at seeing Naruto and teammate arrive. About time you showed up, Gaki, we have been waiting here for over an hour. Naruto just smiles back. Sorry Zabuza, we wanted some breakfast before we take out the trash. Oh, and here he tosses the Micha bento. Thought you might be hungry now. What do you want to do till the little rat shows up? Zabuza smiles as before eating the bento. Well, we could have another spar, but I would rather save my energy for dealing with the backstabbing little bastard, if that's okay with you. So how about we create some clones to fight it out while we just relax? Naruto nods before he and Zabu each create a clone and have them fight. He then turns towards Zabuza and pulls out a deck of cards up for some poker while we wait. Zabuza just chuckles. You're on, Gaki, and you're going down. I may not be able to beat you in Kenjutsu, but I will wipe the floor with you in poker, he says before Naruto deals the cards. 1 hour later and Zabuza losing every hand of poker, they hear the sound of a large group of people walking on the edge of the bridge and look over to see Gato standing there with 300 thugs carrying various weapons. Gato looks at the scene before him and fumes. Zabuza, what the hell is the meaning of this? I hire you to kill the bridge builder and the ninja guarding him, and instead you're playing cards with them. Zabuza just laughs. Don't be surprised, Gato, I knew all along that you were never going to pay me, so I had a contingency plan in case such a thing happened. Gato is furious before yelling to his men, kill them all but leave the women alive, they will provide some fun later on. Before suddenly the temperature plummets and Gato looks at Naruto whose bangs are covering his eyes. Naruto shakes in rage. Zabuza, no matter what, don't interfere with what's about to happen or I will kill you. Is that understood, he says in a voice that sends shivers down everyone's spines. Zabuza just nods, scared shitless of Naruto at the moment. Naruto then turns towards Gato and his thugs before rolling up the sleeves of his trenchcoat, revealing a pair of storage seals, and bites his thumbs before swiping his blood over them. He looks at Gato with pure murder in his eyes and says, Gato, you oppressed the people of Wave, killed a man, you was a hero to a boy I consider my little brother in all but blood, and then threatened not only 2 of my fiancés, but also another woman who is like an older sister to me with rape. There is no forgiveness for your crimes. You and every man you brought with you here today will die by my hands. However, you should feel honored, know that you're the first to witness this technique, Saurian Soul. Raptor swarm. After saying the name of the technique, the storage seals on his arms glow before there is a cloud of smoke. When the smoke clears, standing on the bridge are 500 of Naruto's raptor clones just waiting for him to give the command. Naruto raises his arm in the arm before swiping it down and saying, kill them all but leave Gato alive, he is mine. What happens next can only be described as a bloodbath. The raptors tear into Gato's thugs like a tornado in a trailer park. Sorry, the only comparison I could think of to describe the carnage. Blood and body parts fly everywhere. The swarm tears the thugs to shreds, leaving only Gato alive, who is paralyzed in fear. When the raptors are done, all that's left of Gato's men are piles of severed limbs and shredded torsos. Naruto then walks up to Gato, who begins to beg for his life and ask for mercy, to which Naruto scoffs, sorry, all out of mercy for people like you, all I have in stock is this Saurian style dual T-Rex execution. Before a shadow clone appears next to him and they both change into his T-Rex Dino form and biting Gato, who is trying to crawl away on the leg, causing him to scream as Naruto flings his head up and releasing Gato, who cartwheels up before falling down, where both Naruto and his shadow clone both catch him in their mouths, half of him in each, as he screams in pain before they rip him in half and throw his severed halves over the edge of the bridge. Before the shadow clone dispels and he changes back to normal. Naruto spits out Gato's blood that was still in his mouth and says good riddance, and may you burn in hell for all of eternity, you miserable bastard, before turning to see the shocked faces of his team, Tazuna, Zabuza, and Haku, and asks what I said I was going to rip him in half when I saw him and I did, why are you all looking at me like that? Prompting everyone to sweat drop. Naruto then looks at Zabuza. Hey Zabuza, think you could use a water jutsu to clean all this up? I sense the villagers on their way here and I doubt they want to see this carnage, to which Zabuza just nod and cleans the bridge of all the blood and body parts. Naruto walks over to his team just as a mob of Waves villagers show up with makeshift weapons, with Inari leading them, to which he just smiles. Yo, what's all this about? If you're looking for Gato, you just missed him, he ended up have a accident and fell to pieces, he says, causing those who knew what really happened to sweat drop. The villagers just looked shocked before Inari says, you really mean it, Gato is dead? Naruto just nods. Inari runs up and hugs Naruto as the villagers start cheering as Naruto hugs Inari. He sees Tsunami walking toward him and smiles as she comes up and kisses him on the lips, to the surprise of Kurenai, Tazuna, Inari, Zabuza, Haku, and the villagers before Naruto says, I told you I would take care of it. Tsunami just smiles, I never doubted you for a moment. Inari then looks at his mom before asking why she did that, which makes her smile. Well, Inari, Naruto and I confessed our feelings for each other and have decided that you, me, and maybe your grandfather if he wants to will be moving to Konoha after the bridge is finished, where we will be living with Naruto, as I am going to be one of his wives, making him your stepfather, she says, shocking everyone who didn't already know. Inari looks at Naruto, who only smiles and nods before Inari hugs him again, saying "to-san" over and over again, to which Naruto just hugs him tighter, while repeating yes after each time he says it. At night, Wave celebrates their freedom with food, dancing, and drinks. The next morning Naruto wakes up to find 3 women in bed with him. Anko is on his left snuggling into the left side of his neck, Tsunami is on his right doing the same as Anko only on his right side, and Hinata is sleeping on his chest. All 3 of them only wearing their underwear. Naruto smiles before just going back to sleep. Later that day Naruto, Zabuza, and Haku go to Gato's base and take all his money and the deed to his shipping company, which Naruto signs over to himself. Zabuza takes half of Gato's money and leaves with Haku, saying they are going back to Kiri now that the civil war is over, while Naruto takes the other half and gives it to the people of Wave. Over the course of the month, Tazuna finishes the bridge and Naruto spends time relaxing and growing closer to his fiancées until it's time to leave. Naruto and the rest of teammate along with Tsunami and Inari stand at the end of the newly completed and named Great Naruto Bridge and look at the villagers and Tazuna, who had decided to stay in Wave. Naruto smiles, well, I guess this is it, Tazuna, see you around. Oh, and check on the kitchen table, I left you a present. Tazuna nods before telling Naruto to take care of his daughter and grandson, to which Naruto agrees and they set off back to Konoha. Naruto looks at Inari and smiles, so Sachi, are you ready to head to your new home? Inari just nods, good, and don't worry about making friends, I know a few kids who would love to be friends with you. Inari smiles, I'm not worried too, san, and I can't wait to see our new home, causing everyone to smile, while Anko, Hinata, and Tsunami think he will be a great father in the future, which causes them to blush at the thought of children, with a combination of features belong to Naruto and themselves running around the house. Naruto meanwhile smiles and thinks, Akane-chan, our family keeps growing and I couldn't be happier. Akane just smiles from within the mindscape and says that it does, kid, and I'm sure your parents are looking down on you with smiles on their faces at how poor they are with you. Naruto smiles and looks to the sky and swears, he says his parents' faces smiling at him, and I'm sure they are, Akane-chan. I'm sure they are, before continuing towards Konoha with a smile on his face.